Good evening, my brother.
Good evening, greetings and salutations.
So, this song, This Must Be the Place, also has an alternative title. Do you happen to know what it is?
No, off the top of my head, I do not.
Naive Melody? I figured that was appropriate for Trump supporters.
Yes.
I saw the Talking Heads in my alma mater prior to me going to college there. This album came out in like 1983, 1984, and they were on this tour, the Speaking in Tongues tour, and that was my first exposure to college life, we'll say. And I was hooked.
um, I've seen them 3 times in my lifetime, and I think Stop Making Sense was the first, and then they came around.
You may find yourself living in a shotgun shack.
Yeah, so I want to say like 87, 88. And then their last CBGB's cafe show, which was shit. I can't remember what that was for. It was like some impromptu thing in the mid
Nice.
90s.
Nice.
Yeah.
Welcome, everybody. Appreciate you here. Thank you for joining us on 2.0. Still don't know what's going on. Literally, unless my clone was busy overnight saying inappropriate things in lives because when I went to bed, I had live access and I woke up this morning and I didn't. And then there was some audio issues. Anyway, we're here. Everybody, if you wouldn't mind, please taking a minute and liking and sharing the live. We'll have to get some traffic out there. We might need to work a little harder this evening to get some traffic out there. Some housekeeping. There is a link to our Discord that is now in the link tree. We're working on it. Caveat, there's more features coming. We're still working out some bugs, but if you would like to join the Discord and have some fun, I would appreciate you doing that. Thank you in advance to everybody who's helped, including you, sir. Much appreciated for getting this thing across the finish line. And to into my mods and to Whisper and for everybody else who sort of helped contribute to this whole process. We really appreciate it. Long overdue, and I'm glad we finally have it.
Yep.
There is also a link tree in our bio that directs people to the YouTube channel. So Anthony and I were talking earlier today, and we're really trying to drive traffic to YouTube. So basically what it is now is I just basically post our lives the next morning so that they're available on the YouTube channel. There's not much more than that for content right now. We're working on it because, planning ahead, the YouTube live feature is just a bit more stable. There's more, the Discord is almost integrated within the live, so you don't have to be using an app off of the TikTok to use it. There's not as many rules and regs connected to it. So we're working on that. We need more subscribers. I think there's barely 75 or 100 right now. So if anybody's interested in subscribing, there's no commitment to subscribe over there. It's literally just, you get the little notification when you subscribed. We appreciate that. And you can find that link in our link tree as well. There is merch in the merch store featured here. There's some new Facts After Dark merch that's available. Would really, really appreciate that. I think it's really cool. Actually, it looks neat. Can't wait to see it with wine in it. We'll bust that out on for Facts After Dark on this coming Friday night. And then if there's any other ways that you would like to support the channel, there's various pay apps there as well. Ours are listed above in our Cash App. And everybody, again, please like and share the live to try to drive some traffic out to our friends on the right. 25K I've heard is the magic number. As quick as we can get to 25,000 likes, the quicker the algorithm picks it up and the more traffic we can ultimately drive. So how are you, sir? Happy Tuesday.
Yeah, happy Tuesday to you. Super important on the YouTube bits. Subscribing is free.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to say that again. Subscribing is free. So
Yes,
if you are one of the 48 people that is in here and you have not subscribed for free to the YouTube channel, please do. And I'm going to say that another 100 times. We really need to get to 1,000 people as quickly as possible so that we can move to a different format. It'll be better all around. We'll be able to do more deep dive content. We'll be able to have the ability to not only have the Discord running, but because YouTube is a computer based program and not a mobile app program,
Hmm.
we will also be able to have more graphics and more information and share things. Please do tap the screen like you own it. Invite your favorite conservative here. If anyone's friends with Jeffrey, aka HVAC, let me know. For some reason, we're no longer friends here on TikTok. I don't know what the hell I did. Uh, but I'm looking to get in touch with him. I have a proposal for him or for any other, in very large quotes, conservative debater. We are going to be adding some things, and we're going to keep it fresh. Again, I don't know what Fax's alter ego was doing while he was sleeping, but apparently it caused a
Apparently,
stir.
I'm sleep living, if
Right.
that is such a thing. Yeah, I really don't know. I'm glad you brought up YouTube. For those of you who don't know, who don't create content much or host lives, you can't host a live from the desktop version of TikTok. You can
Yeah.
watch lives, but you can't host them.
And you
So
can't comment.
correct. Well, you can comment, yes, but
Right.
you can't host. So
Right.
that's the drawback. So again, I will echo Anthony's sentiments about we would appreciate any additional support. And everybody, while you're tapping away, please use the chat to spam out your favorite MAGA phrases like FJB, Hunter Biden's cock, Hunter Biden's laptop, Hillary's emails, open borders. Be sure to spell everything wrong. That would be really appreciated. We would really appreciate that. We have a lot to cover off on tonight. Have we covered everything from a housekeeping perspective? I think we have. Yeah, I mean, we'll dive in more as we go this evening. Um, so there sort of, I guess you could call this breaking news. 7 jurors have now been seated in the New York hush money election interference trial in New York for the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster, including the foreperson. They have been seated. That means 11 more to go. You need a total of 18, 12 jurors, 6 alternates. Those 7 people were asked to return on Monday morning. They were not sequestered technically. They were asked to basically avoid the world around them, I guess. Not to discuss the case, not to discuss what happened in their jury proceedings, anything along those lines, and with the intent that they will come back on Monday morning fresh. So Judge Merchan, there will be no court tomorrow. They will pick up again on Thursday and then Friday. And he was leaving court today, and his hope is to have opening arguments on Monday morning. So initially, they had set up 2 weeks for the jury selection process, but they feel like they're making good progress. I'm going to probably botch this word, but both the defense and the prosecution have what are called peremptory challenges. Basically, during the process, they can for really no reasons, though there are some grounds that they can use these challenges if they don't like a juror. The district attorney's office has used 4 of 10. Trump's team has used 6 of 10. So I don't know if that's an indication or whatever that means, but that means the Trump team's got 4 left, the DA's got 6 left. So again, we're marching towards reckoning, one way or another. We're gonna get a case to trial, and that's gonna happen on Monday. Any comments on that, sir?
I was rather impressed with the fact that they were able to get 7 today.
Yeah, same.
That is some fast work given all of the challenges that the defense was throwing up. I mean, some of them, I don't know if you looked at them, and I don't mean to be
Yeah.
petty, but listen,
Oh, be petty, please.
just because somebody celebrated the fact that Biden won, the defense attorney said their social media posts were hostile towards Trump.
Right. There,
He's not a
yeah.
victim. He's
I
the
know.
accused.
I know. I know. There were some. I guess I was reading about one juror who was initially accepted, and they kind of pushed back a little bit. Apparently, there were some social media postings from 2020
Yeah.
celebrating Trump's loss, things like that. Again, whatever. I mean, this whole issue. We talked about this a little bit last night about how the Trump team is claiming that they can't get a fair trial. Um, Manhattan, 86%, Manhattan voters, 86% for Joe Biden in the 2020
Yeah.
election. Now,
Yeah.
you would look at that and say, okay, sure. But it doesn't mean that people can't be impartial. And I guess the pushback that we would have to
Right.
MAGA, does that mean he can only get a fair trial if he's in Wayne County, Nevada, where he got about 81% of the vote there? So it's not how it works. Sixth Amendment affords um, the citizens, in this case, the citizens of New York and others, the right to a speedy trial and to be the person accused to be held accountable in the jurisdiction where they committed alleged crimes. It's that simple. You don't like
Yeah.
crime in New York, don't crime in New York. Pretty simple, you know. It ain't rocket surgery, as I was once told.
Yeah. And we're going to talk more about Trump's mental state.
Mm-hmm. Indeed,
Um, and he also got a nice smackdown by the judge today.
he sure did.
So, he's a petulant child, and his daddy, who's the judge, basically told him via his attorney, right? Like, you're not going to mutter under your breath. You're not going to make hand motions as we're seating the jury. It's just not going to happen. So, I think he's going to end up um, paying a lot of money for
Mm.
contempt of court fines,
If not,
and
spend some time behind bars.
I think he's going to spend a night or two for sure.
I have a feeling, and it's funny. I was just thinking about this as you were saying this, Anthony, about the fact that he can't keep his mouth shut. He acts like a petulant child. His supporters, who we speak to regularly, act the exact same way. So birds of a feather. And by the
Yep.
way, MAGA, can we dismiss with this whole Sleepy Joe thing after your boy fell asleep in court yesterday? So I think we should, over the course of the evening, I would like people to make suggestions as to what we should start calling him. Um, Dramadine Don, the ambient asshole,
Mm.
you know, NyQuil narcissist, whatever that is, you know, I, I don't know what you want to call it, but we could have some fun with that throughout the night potentially. Um, so yeah, I mean, there's a whole bunch of things that are going on connected to that. Obviously, there was a hearing in the Supreme Court today regarding some of those that have been accused and or are currently in jail related to January 6th, with one particular clause that a lot of them have been charged with. It is 18 U.S. Code 1512, tampering with a witness, victim, or an informant. And then there's elements of it within that code, specifically, and see if I can find it here. Um, this is subsection C. Whoever corruptly alters, destroys, mutilates, or conceals a record, document, or other object, or attempts to do so with the intent to impair the object's integrity or availability for use in official proceeding, or two, otherwise obstructs, influences, or impedes any official proceeding or attempts to do so, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 20 years or both.
Yeah.
So what the defense, this is not Trump's defense, this is other defendants and or people who have already been jailed. What their defense is that this was referred to as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act
Yep.
for financial fraud specifically. That's how they entered it. So what the defense is saying is that this is a stretch as to how this applies, and people are saying, well, this has never been used for a violent insurrection before, and we're like, yeah, no shit, because there's
Right.
never been a violent insurrection against the government before, right?
Yeah.
Everything's a precedent.
And that goes back to anything that's not in existence or hasn't been reviewed or hasn't been brought to any format, whether it's a trial or a hearing in Congress, is unprecedented
Correct.
because there's no precedent to measure it against,
That's exactly
right?
right. That's exactly right.
However, what is not unprecedented are people who crime go through the legal process and end up sitting at a table in a courtroom.
That's right. That's exactly right. On that topic specifically, one of the charges against Mr. Trump is that same charge, count three, 18 U.S. Code 1512 subsection 2/2, obstruction of an attempt to obstruct an official proceeding. So the reason this case is connected is because that's one of the charges. But by the way, he's also been charged with count one, 18 U.S. Code 371, which is conspiracy to defraud the United States,
Yeah.
conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding, and conspiracy against rights. We'll dive into that a little bit more this evening. So that's just again part of the nuance. And Clarence Thomas, of all people, was one of the ones that was pushing back on that. Now there's rumblings that perhaps the way in which he asked some of these questions might be a blueprint as to how he's going to rule. Because don't forget, coming up on the 25th is the oral arguments for the immunity defense.
Yeah.
By the way, MAGA, your guy wants to just avoid the fact, never mind addressing the crimes he's committed. He's not defending himself. He's literally just saying, I should be able to do it. I'm the president. I should be immune. So that's part of what we're going to talk about a little bit tonight about what a patriot is. You know, how if we admire and respect the rule of law in our country, how can anybody claim to be above the law? It's just ridiculous. What else did I want to cover off on before we dive in a little bit more? Oh, the Mayorkas impeachment heads to the Senate. That's hilarious. That's really hilarious. And a FYI takes 2/3 of the senators to vote to remove. Ain't gonna happen.
Oh, well, it's not going to happen specifically because even Republicans are like,
Correct. Some will vote for it, obviously, but
sure.
it's ridiculous. But most of them are completely. This is bullshit. And then there's a little bit more rumbling regarding. You recall that Marjorie Three Toes. I mean Marjorie Trailer Trash Green. I mean Marjorie Taylor Greene. She introduced a potential. It's like almost like the double secret probation introduction of the motion to vacate. So to back up a second, every time there's a new Congress, they establish rules for that particular Congress. Some of them are just templated; they just kind of renew the same rules. But oftentimes it's just how committees are assigned, the rules of committee, things like that. Anyway, in this case, one of the big rules was they wanted to be able to have a motion by one sitting member of the House to be able to introduce a motion to vacate. Kevin McCarthy had to give in on that last one because he would never have gotten enough votes to become Speaker. That was the one that took him out. You recall Matt Gaetz did that. Remind people, Anthony, why Kevin McCarthy and Matt Gaetz have a thing? You recall that?
What is dating a 17-year-old and taking her across state lines for
Yeah,
500, Alex? And
correct.
that is still being litigated
Indeed, it is.
and
Yeah. So
investigated.
So that's exactly right. So McCarthy was part of an ethics investigation into Matt Gaetz for doing just that. That would be that'd be trafficking and kidnapping, for case you're for those of you in the back. So where this brings us is that rule still exists. That one sitting member of Congress can introduce the motion to vacate, and it's MTG. Thomas Massey from Kentucky is now considering going in on that as well. They haven't formally done it yet, introduced that, and it's because the speaker's doing his job because he wants to bring foreign policy bills to the floor for people to vote on, including Ukraine. And the Freedom Caucus is all up in their shit because they don't want to do it, and they feel like Speaker Johnson is just kind of kowtowing. Actually, he's doing his job. Democrats will likely want to avoid the hassle, so they're probably going to vote to kind of for him to keep his job because they don't want to go through this bullshit anymore because there's too many things that are actually important to get done. So we'll see. Then I thought this was great. OAN settled with Smartmatic today. So so as a reminder, who was it? Dominion? Yeah, no. Who was it? Dominion Voting Systems. They sued Fox for $1.3 billion. They ended up settling for $787 million against Fox for lies and defamation. And then Smartmatic, which is the other company that does voting machines, they're also suing Fox. They have now settled with OAN, which is One American News Network. There's no details on what the settlement amount was, but that case was about to go to trial too, so they also settled. So again, these right-wing news outlets, news outlets that are spreading misinformation and lies and bullshit are being held accountable. So they're all in the find out phase of FAFO. So those are the things that I had on my plate, and we're going to dive into a few things tonight. I want to talk FISA. I want to get into the Steele dossier a little bit. And I know you've got some really hot points on your plate this evening, sir. Where would you like to start?
Sorry, my phone rang. Did you say something?
I was just saying, we have a lot of things we can cover off on. I know there's some hot topics that you want to jump into. Where would you like to start?
Yeah, yeah, I would. Just give me a second here. I'm gonna move from one monitor to the other. Nerd power.
Love it.
Um,
Please
first, let's
tap and like and share, guys. Really appreciate that. Let's try to get the 25K as quickly as we can. Thank you all very
yeah,
much.
let's get this going. TikTok. It is our intention during these live broadcasts to only provide fact-based information to the absolute best of our ability. We strive to never spread misinformation or platform those that do. The opinions of our guests or commentators are theirs and theirs alone and do not reflect those of the host. Hate speech is not allowed, and we are diligent about policing it. This platform is for educational purposes only, and we love the TikTok shop.
We do, indeed. And please subscribe to YouTube. Thank you.
Yeah, subscribe to YouTube. Get her done.
Get her done.
Get her done. Now, I want to go over a couple of things that I am qualified to discuss. Um, we'll just do right off the top of what I sent you, just the first
Yeah,
few bullet points.
it's fabulous.
Let's talk about what a veteran is. The term veteran means a person who served in the active military, naval, or air service and who was discharged or released therefrom under conditions other than dishonorable. If you have a dishonorable discharge, you may not use the term veteran because you are not a veteran.
Oh, really? I did not know that. So if you're dishonorably discharged, you cannot be referred to as a veteran.
That is absolutely correct.
Would that mean VA benefits do not apply to you as well?
If you get a dishonorable discharge, you get nothing,
Interesting. Did not know that.
including the GI Bill.
Thank you for that. Did not know that.
Yep.
Okay.
Veterans swear an oath to the U.S. Constitution, not to a political party or other individuals or affiliated parties. Supporting Trump makes you complicit in his bigotry, racism, and treason. Veterans are taught early on about honor, courage, and commitment. Trump exhibits none of those qualities.
You know, we've talked about this a few times, and I know that this is a sore subject for you because of the people that we speak to. And I think what we've learned is that, and correct me if I'm wrong, and this is just kind of going on memory a little bit here, but a lot of folks that have served, that have you know, been in bases around the world have told us that Fox is the primary network news, if you will, that's on. I think that's still true, as far as I know. So I guess we can understand, not apologize and or accept what's happened, but when you're spoon fed that information over and over and over and over and over again, we can see where the indoctrination comes in. You know,
Yeah,
pretty sad. Doesn't excuse it.
100%.
Doesn't excuse it in any way, but you can see where it comes from and the danger behind it.
Yeah, and there was an effort at one point in time to not
Anthony, quick
remove
question from King Arthur's Crown. National Guard are considered veterans.
uh, upon the discharge, presuming that it was not dishonorable. Yes, because people in the National Guard still have active duty requirements, right? So they have to do. It used to be 2 weeks a year. I don't know if that's changed, where their status goes from National Guard to active duty, and it's usually for a 2 week training. So yes,
Okay,
they would be.
good
But
question.
that distinction is fairly important. And here's another little known fact about veterans. Um, the VFW and the American Legion extends invitations to join the veteran service organizations while on active duty.
Hmm. Okay.
or as a reservist as long as you meet the minimum requirements. So
Okay.
you don't have to be discharged to join veteran service organizations either.
Okay. Interesting.
Yep.
Things we learn.
Yep. Fun
The
stuff.
Yeah, I mean, again, the sad part. I mean, again, part of me being an empath is that we see the people who, at some point in their lives, made that ultimate decision, right? To be able to say, I'm gonna serve my country. I'm gonna preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic. And they made that commitment honorably at that moment, for whatever reason they decided to do it, whether it be family legacy, a purpose. A lot of people signed up after 9/11, whatever your reason, you make that decision to do that at that particular time, right? Thank you to everybody who did at that moment.
Yep.
What has happened, though, for people who still claim that they're patriots and how they're connected to Trump? It's just this awful. Like we were talking about this, I think it was last night, about how these three groups, um, black people, women, and veterans. How can anyone in any of those three groups support Donald Trump? And not just Trump, the Republican Party in general, because they don't do anything to protect the rights of those particular individuals.
Yeah. Again, let's set the table. So people who climb up on the mantle of patriot, right? Um, Generally speaking, are in constant violation of the flag code, meaning they're wearing flags, disrespecting flags. All of those Trump flags that have any reference to the American flag are a violation of the U.S. flag code. So that's number one. Number two, they constantly conflate that English is our official language, that we are a Christian nation,
Right.
that the Pledge of Allegiance should be mandatory, despite the fact that the Supreme Court has said no, it's not. That the national anthem must be respected. There's no law backing that at all. And I've had guys literally say that if I ever burned a flag, they would try to do something to me physically. So I would say to them, yeah, you should come join me when I take retired flags and burn them according to the actual regs. Because when you retire a flag, you're supposed to burn it. And it's also a constitutionally protected
Right.
First Amendment right to burn the flag. They conflate tradition with patriotism.
Mm.
Every family has its own traditions and does things a certain way, right?
Hmm.
But again, I say to them, you cannot force pledges of allegiance. This is not North Korea, as an example, right? This is not Iran, as another example, right? You can't make somebody sit, stand, kneel, or whatever because you feel it's the right thing to do.
Hmm.
We don't have a national language. We don't have a national religion. The courts, time and time again, have held that we don't have to stand or say the Pledge of Allegiance, and we can't make kids do it. Where I'm confused as to why you think those things make you patriotic. Because what I don't hear ever coming out of those spaces is, hey, there's a guy who's a trucker and an Army veteran on TikTok, and he's going to be in LA. This happened months ago. And he's going to be handing out socks and food and stuff like that. I don't hear them talking about donating time or money or efforts to actually help veterans or help fellow Americans. All I see them doing is beating their chest and, oh, I'm a patriot. Or the dudes that I call them vet bros, where their entire personality was their service.
Right.
Yeah, I served 8 years. Big fucking deal. It means absolutely nothing. Oh, and by the way, please do not thank me for my service. I know it's a reflex. I did not serve for you. Shocker. I actually couldn't get a job at 19. I was lost. I didn't know what to do. But because I grew up in a military family, I was like, fuck it. I'm going to go to the recruiter. And I literally said, how soon can you get me out of here? To which the recruiter was like, sit down, sign some paper, right?
Tomorrow.
Yeah. Like I was literally like, I probably made every sailor's day in that office, right? Because I just came in, and I was like, I need to get the fuck out. I was literally gone 2 weeks later. I was in
Really?
San Diego for boot camp. So does that make me a patriot? No, it doesn't. Like everybody else in the world that serves in the military outside of the United States, they recognize that it's a job first, except for in countries where you're conscripted and have to serve, right? But that's different, right? That's a different program, right?
While you're on that, I just want to do a quick comparison because I think this is a really important point of distinction. Because,
Yeah.
again, we'll just use because words matter. So,
Yep.
the definition of patriotism is the feeling of love, devotion, and a sense of attachment to a country or state. This attachment can be a combination of different feelings for things, such as the language of one's homeland, its ethnic, cultural, political, or historical aspects. Compare that to nationalism, which is the identification with one's own nation and support for its interests, especially to the exclusion or detriment of the interests of others within that nation. Their nationalism is tempered by a desire to join the EU or to establish a more YT culture. So, very, very, very interesting distinctions between those two. And I think they get overlapped. So when we talk about one of the tenets of fascism being ultranationalism, that is a tenet of fascism. When we talk about the historical significance of what America First means, America First is not rooted in patriotism, it is rooted in nationalism. A big difference. Sorry, I just thought that was a good segue right there. Back
No,
at you.
it's important, right? And it's super important. It's super important that we make sure that we keep these distinctions going,
Mm-hmm.
right? I'm not going to blame people or make fun of people because they don't actually understand certain things. That has more to do with your public school education system or what you were taught at home, or, if you were homeschooled or sent to a private school that, had laxed educational values, right? Um, Most people that served while I served did not do so out of some patriotic duty. As a matter of fact, when I joined, the number one reason why people joined the Navy and the military specifically, right? Both, was because of the movie Top Gun,
Yeah, right.
right?
Sure.
So maybe that got dudes all juiced up and excited because the way the movie was filmed, it was pretty cool looking at stuff on an aircraft carrier and
Yeah.
aka bird farm, and you know it it made sense. But there were a lot of guys that I met like me that had no money, didn't have a job, and looked at the military, and still to this day it's an employment opportunity. The United States military employs a lot of people. They are an employer. Again, most of us don't do it for you. We do it for ourselves. We do it because we want money to go to school, or we simply need to get out of an economic or socio-economic environment that's dragging us down, right? I met a lot of really amazing men from cities that I never would have gone to or had a reason to go to, and it was outside of my orbit, right? But I got to meet these guys, and I'm like, how does some guy from a large metropolitan area nowhere near an actual body of water where the Navy exists end up in the Navy,
Hmm.
right? And then when you start to unpack that with him, you learn that, in some very small percentage of cases, judges were like, "Hey, your bullshit's wearing thin. Join the military or go to jail." That happened, right? And
Yeah,
and you know what? Fantastic, because most of those guys that I met on that spectrum turned out to be really good fucking sailors because they knew what was waiting,
sure.
right?
Motivation.
So yeah,
Isn't it true
motivation's
that
a strong factor.
you were talking about landlocked? Because, and I think if
Yeah.
memory serves, that the Navy was established in Whitehall, New York.
Yes.
If you've never been to Whitehall, New York, there's a little babbling brook, but that's about it. Whitehall, New York is about 25 minutes from where I grew up. So there's not much there at all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, there used to be a submarine base in upstate New York too at one point in time, and I can't remember the name of the town. You would be surprised where the Navy is, right? Like there, well, shit. Used to be a school for what we called nukes, right? So men at the time when I was in, there weren't women in the program. So men and women today who learned how to run nuclear reactors. There was a place in Connecticut for them to go to school, right? Those folks tended to be super, super, super smart people, right? Obviously, because they're running a nuclear reactor, and you can't be a knucklehead doing that. Didn't mean they didn't act like sailors, but that school was pretty hard to get into. You had to have very high ASVAB scores.
Hmm.
Um, One of the other things too that I think is important, and this is a good segue. This is one of the things where I hope somebody from MAGA comes up and wants to debate this. And again, I'm reading this stuff because some of this stuff is difficult for me to just talk about. So if
Yeah,
I type it and read it, there doesn't have the emotional
I
component,
got you.
right?
I got you.
Mental health awareness within the veterans community. We need to ensure that we encourage, foster, and provide an environment that is stigma free, evidence based, and trauma focused system in which all service members that need care feel welcome and encouraged to seek and receive that care. Men like Trump do not foster or encourage this, and his followers are of the mindset that men need to be like men. In other words, not understand or want to understand the need of service members and the importance of treating and recognizing the stigma of seeking help is a problem, and MAGA as a movement is a problem and not a solution nor a supporting cast for veterans' mental health issues.
Hmm.
Time and time again, we have seen the GOP block funding for mental health when it comes to people in the military. But they sure do like us to unfold an American flag during a football game, or they
Right.
like us to do color guard, or they like us to go somewhere to fight for some reason that no one outside of their small club seems to understand, right?
Right.
And then when we come home, they're like, "Oh, we can't afford it. We don't have the money."
Hmm.
So I want MAGA or any conservative that's in this live to come explain to me how it is that we can send people to war, but we can't seem to find the money to take care of them when they come home.
Tokenizing.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. I mean, it's again one of the tenets of fascism is like supremacy of the military. So they support the soldier, but not the veteran.
yeah, yeah. And if you want a modern day example of that, look at the bullshit with the PAC Act and what the Republicans tried to do by pulling their vote
Hmm.
because they wanted to have this little what was it, mandatory spending versus discretionary spending.
Correct.
But the budget for the VA has always been discretionary, meaning it's got to come every single year,
Correct. Yes.
right?
There's. Yes. Yep. Yep. Exactly.
And it's got to submit a budget every single year. Where if
That's
it was
correct.
mandatory, they would be told, hey, you're going to go spend this money and here's what you're going to spend it on, right?
Yeah, the
The
mandatory
military,
means you can only spend it on this particular thing.
right,
With exactly discretionary means within a, obviously it's not unbridled. It's got to be within a certain area related to the topic, but you get,
right,
which is exactly how you make government policy work. There's things that have to be mandatory by
right,
definition, but
right.
this in this case, and they tried to use that as an excuse. They need to get embarrassed by a comedian before they did their job.
Yeah. And again,
And
keep in mind,
even veterans in the Senate, even
yes,
veterans in the Senate.
yes, Tom Cotton.
Tom Cotton, perfect. He's the one I was thinking of, exactly.
Yep, yep.
And others. Yep.
Keep in mind, the PAC Act was first introduced June 17th, 2021. My question is why on June 18th wasn't it approved and sent to the House? What
Yeah.
was the Senate waiting for? How could something like this not be just up and down vote?
With all
It makes no
100,
sense.
with all
But it's
100
the
votes.
Republicans that
You're right.
keep blocking these pieces of legislation over and over and over again.
With
Right?
all 100 senators should have approved that, should have voted in the positive immediately.
Right.
There's no reason otherwise.
Right. And why is it, this is another thing that fucking kills me. Why is it that the claims process is so hard? First of all, if you were in a theater, so if you were in a theater that includes combat, right?
Mhm.
Automatically, you should have VA benefits,
Totally agree.
period.
Yep.
Right? Now,
Yep.
if you served in the military and you never went overseas, but maybe you did get hurt, because look, accidents happen all of the time, right?
Sure.
Dudes and gals get mangled up in accidents or there's equipment failures, right? So we're going to exclude all of that, right?
Yep. Yep.
Even if you went nowhere, let's just say you were in San Diego for 4 years or Hawaii. Every once in a while, when I meet a dude that was in the Navy for 4 years in Pearl Harbor as the duty station and I hear the complain, I literally have to restrain myself. How do you complain about being in Pearl Harbor for 4 years? I don't know, but there's always that one guy, right? Well, I was in Pearl Harbor for 4 years. Not feel sorry for you. Fuck you. Uh, you know, it's not like some of the army bases where they're out in the middle of a fucking desert, and it's just balls hot in the summer and freezing cold in the winter. You're in Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, right?
While we're talking about, and this is only, if
Yeah,
you can give me 45 seconds, while we're
take
talking
it.
about this, because I think it's really extremely important, since we're talking about veterans and we're talking about the GOP's lack of support for veterans, and we talk about Donald Trump being the front runner for the candidacy, the presumptive nominee. He will be the nominee for the president of the United States, the commander in chief of the military. Um, Project Agenda 47, which is from his website, he talks about urban camping. Now, we know that houseless people also include veterans. So, again, people who have served our country for whatever reason, they have fallen on hard times. Now, the right likes to blame substance abuse. The majority of people who end up houseless were not on or did not have substance use disorder prior to becoming houseless. It became an unfortunate byproduct of their situation. So again, veterans having served our country have become houseless. And I'd like to play for you a brief snippet of what Donald Trump thinks and says about veterans, and then we can talk about it on the other side.
Ban urban camping wherever possible. Violators of these bans will be arrested, but they will be given the option to accept treatment and services if they're willing to be rehabilitated. Many of them don't want that, but we'll give them the option. We will then open up large parcels of inexpensive land, bring in doctors, psychiatrists, social workers, and drug rehab specialists, and create tent cities where the homeless can be relocated and their problems identified. But we'll open up our cities again, make them livable, and make them beautiful. We'll ban urban camp.
So, what I heard was American citizens and houseless veterans, because again, ban urban camping, violators will be arrested. Not only just ignoring your due process rights, your right as a citizen, but being houseless becomes a crime. So MAGA, you want to throw houseless veterans in jail, and you're okay with that, and then send them to internment camps. FYI. Sorry, Anthony. I thought that was an appropriate moment for that.
Yeah. Let's talk about the fact that the homelessness population is a problem, right? But we also have laws that protect adults from being forced to take medicine, being forced to seek treatment, meaning you can't.
Correct.
There may be a state or two that doesn't have that, but I think it's a federal thing, right? Like you can't make somebody get into treatment. You cannot.
Unless it's court ordered based on maybe there's
Right.
a ruling by a judge that says like if you want to be able to live with your family then you have to go for treatment. Again, it's probably case by case, but there's no law that forces anybody to have to do that. You're right.
Right. I find it interesting that a man who's never worked an entire day in his life, never did any actual labor, never served in the military, doesn't know anything about the military, wants to say things like, if they accept treatment,
Exactly. What if they
uh,
don't? What if they don't?
right, then you're going to jail, right?
Apparently.
Um, Couple things to unpack there. So all that does is support the private prison complex.
Yeah. Ultimately, correct.
It allows the counties where these state and federal private prisons are, and it bolsters the amount of allocated funds a county gets because they count prisoners as citizens living in that county, which is a bullshit practice
Mhm.
most states have. But it doesn't solve the problem. You didn't enroll the person in the VA to help them get VA benefits.
Nope.
Again, the entire system is broken,
It
right?
is.
Part of the reason why everyone should have some form of VA benefits when they get discharged is because it actually saves money. It does not cost money, it saves money. The billions of dollars that are wasted every year, and I mean this as wasted, and trying to figure out how to write off and pay for emergency care for people without insurance is absolutely staggering,
Another
right?
argument for universal health care right there.
Right. Now, if you served in the military, right? You're already less than 2% of the total population. Are you going to try to tell me that on some basis, every veteran who has been discharged other than dishonorably, I'd be willing to make even some exceptions for dishonorable discharges because it could be PTSD that got them in trouble. You don't know, right?
Sure.
We'd have to
Sure.
review that.
Yeah, you're not generalizing. I get it.
But you're trying to tell me we can't afford to give them health insurance, which would help get them off the street, which would help get them the mental health care they would need, or at least if they decided to be houseless, which does happen,
It
right?
does. It does.
They
Sure.
would have access to medical care, right? It is far less expensive to give everyone universal health care than it is not to. It costs
Absolutely.
more money, and hospitals who are already stretched thin budgetarily,
Hmm.
especially public hospitals,
Hmm.
who can't turn people away.
Right. And it's not even just the hospitals; it's the clinics.
Right,
It's the clinics in
right.
I want to make sure we get this term right. I think you said overpopulated urban environments as opposed to inner cities. I think we've changed the way we want to mention that. I think we refer to, I think Sista told us that overpopulated urban environments, I think is, or densely populated
Yeah,
urban environments. A lot
yeah,
of clinics being closed, not only medical clinics, but mental health clinics being closed in overpopulated urban environments, densely populated urban environments. That's another argument
Yep.
Again, to your point, and the hypocrisy connected to this messaging specifically, you'll notice when he goes off script, because you can always tell in his little diatribes when he goes off script, and he owns himself. Many of them won't seek treatment. Well, if they don't seek treatment, what happens? And I've heard people in defense of this
Yeah.
saying, well,
Yeah.
you don't think we have a houseless problem? Yeah, we can all agree that we have a houseless problem, but is the solution to arrest people?
Well,
How about we create, clean injection sites? How about we get them the help that they need? How about we treat the issue? The system has created their situation that they're in, right? Yes, you said
yeah.
that some people might choose to be houseless, but the numbers have got to be so infinitesimally small overall.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
People, we know so many Americans, especially those of us that are at the bottom of the well from the corporate greed, and I've got some numbers I'm going to share a little bit later talking about corporate greed. We're the ones that are one paycheck or two paychecks away from losing everything and being houseless ourselves. So as you, MAGA, somebody who's watching this live, you're houseless. You have to sleep on the street one night. You're okay under a fascist reign of the Trump administration to be locked up. Because that's what he said. If you're urban camping, we're going to ban it. If you do it, we're going to arrest you and we're going to throw you in an internment camp. Any significance to internment camps in our history, Anthony?
Japanese Americans.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. It's an internment camp. It's prison. You can't leave. It's not like slumber party. No.
Yeah,
Anyway,
I would argue the entire reservation system for Native Americans and Indigenous people in North America
totally.
is right
Internment.
there.
Yep, agreed.
We
Agreed.
have
I mean,
more.
veterans. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
veterans are connected to this. Houseless veterans.
Yes.
We can't. What are you going to pick and choose? Well, we don't
Right.
mean veterans. Well, okay. How do you
Right.
know?
Right. Right. We have more foreclosed and abandoned real estate in the United States of America than we have persons needing a place to stay.
Exactly.
Think about that. Not to mention
Exactly.
the fact we have thousands of square miles. Not that there's any jobs there, but we do have thousands of square miles where we could, you know, house people,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So,
Get people help. Not everybody is. Again, it becomes scapegoating. We can add that as another tenet of fascism that we talk about often.
yep,
It's a scapegoat. So houseless people are the enemy. We need to blame them. They're the enemy. They're the ones that are ruining our cities. No, the system, whether it be our system that was built on systemic racism, whether it's our system of corporate greed, whether it's our system of continuing handing out corporate welfare, whether by the poor get poorer, the middle class becomes the low class, and the rich get richer. That's the reason that people are there. That's the reason that people are in those situations. I'm so tired
yep,
of people that are in those awful situations being blamed for their situation. It's disgusting. And fucking veterans are part of that group too. And
yep,
Trump and the MAGA fascists want to lock them up because they're houseless.
yeah. And I think the interesting thing is typical for the GOP. They never want to actually address the issue. They want
Exactly.
all the feigned outrage they can get, right?
Exactly.
And it's too bad we're on the back up because I can tell we're not getting any opposition and we're not getting any people shouting about Hunter Biden's uh, personal bits or his
Yeah.
laptop.
Yeah.
Because this was a discussion that I think we should have had.
And we can have it again.
Yeah, yeah,
Let's everybody spam the chat with FJB. Biden crime family, all your favorites. We all know what they are. Open borders, spell borders wrong. Hillary's emails, Hunter's cock, Hunter Biden laptop. You know the drill. Witch hunt, exactly. Witch hunt. That's a good one. WHICH. That's a good one. Yes, please spam the chat. You have my permission. Go ahead.
yeah, yeah. Do it. Um, Someone just pinged. Yeah, Kentucky just. Oh yeah, I love when states make being houseless a crime.
Yeah.
Like,
Here you go. Kentucky just passed HB
right.
5, which makes houseless a crime, and the version of the bill does carve out a street camping exception for those sleeping in their cars for less than 12 hours, provided their car is legally parked. Again, everyone has to be a victim. Or I should say, MAGA wants to blame victims in no matter what situation they're in, whether it be a woman who's essayed, whether
Yeah.
it be an immigrant, an undocumented migrant, somebody who's houseless. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. Their fragility, and their hatred combined to be put it in a blender, and you just call it a hate smoothie, because that's what it is.
Yep. Yep. Hey, can
Yes,
you can you while we every once in a while we have to do things on a fly.
sure.
Um, X dot midnight capital L dot writer dot X. Can you grant mod powers? It's the backup for our friend.
I think so. While I'm doing, maybe I'll try. I'll do
Okay,
my best.
just yeah, it's one of those
Yeah, I'll do my best
weird
here.
pivots, but this and this is another reason to move to YouTube. Hey, there are 179 of you in here currently today. YouTube is absolutely free to subscribe to. Could you all please go to Fax's link, tree, and subscribe to YouTube? We need to get to 1,000 so that we can start being able to present longer formats, be able to have more graphics and the ease of using one's computer versus phone. Um, and also, just as a gentle reminder, we have Discord up and running, and soon we will give followers the ability to join us in Discord. The fun thing about Discord is it's a fantastic way for everyone that wants to participate, but maybe you don't have enough followers to come up into the box, like my wife, because she will not promote herself, and so she's happy just coming into my office and saying
Oh,
hi.
by the way, Anthony, tell your wife I said
I,
hi.
I, I certainly will. Thank you,
um,
Jen.
I
If
friend,
you're
I can't.
listening,
I'm afraid I'm going to take the live down, but I'll make that. I'll make that happen, bro. I'll get your back up on here. I'll
hold
do
on.
it after the live's over. Hi, I appreciate you. Hey, great time to buy merch.
By the
Hi
way,
there.
I bought a hat and I bought my wife a Facts After Dark shirt.
Yes.
Yes,
So
yes. Now,
and and
listen, you keep what you guys. By the way, you keep what you do in that Facts After Dark shirt to yourselves, please. Thank you very much.
there might be
Hey
a
now.
YouTube video floating around as we put it in the wash machine and take it out to
Woo!
line dry and
Hey now.
push out all the creases and fold it and then put it in a little cubby.
Wow, that sounds hot.
Isn't
Damn.
that sexy?
Whew. We are something.
You
Gen X,
know,
baby. That's how we roll.
all women want to see a man folding shirts.
Totally. If we make it to 8:30
That's my
tonight,
OnlyFans channel. Shirt folding.
didn't somebody suggest? Oh, okay. 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 Yeah. Okay. Got it. Anywho, sorry, we digress. Appreciate that little pivot there, but we were talking about serious topics, but it's always
We
good to throw
were.
a little bit of humor in there, a little bit.
Yes.
Bro, I'll get your back up taken care of.
I was just told it was not funny.
Yeah, but it's funny to us. We get it.
I'm this many.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. Right. And speaking of that, Facts After Dark this coming Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern time. I'll do a promo video on that. Anyway,
Yeah. Yeah.
so everybody, if you guys again, traffic's down. Anthony and I have made some decisions regarding. We are not here. We monitor traffic only because we know what to expect in the chat. We know when we hit a certain number, we see the volume pick up. We see a lot of the troll accounts pick up. We don't do this for clicks. Obviously, we've been encouraged to have our pay apps because people are like, you guys provide a service. You should be rewarded for it, and we're thankful to everybody who supports us, whether it be through gifting goals, whether it be through donations through Cash App. Thankfully, we're both gainfully employed. We do this because it's necessary. So we're also here to try to provide information for people. So whether there's one person in here or 11,000, we don't care. We're going to continue to do it. Obviously, it's fun to dunk on the trolls, and I need it once in a while for my mental health because I get a lot of anger out. But that's not. So I just want people to know that we're going to continue to do this again, whether there's one or 1,000 people in here. So I wanted to say that.
Yeah, and I invite anyone who has a conservative friend that feels they are a master of debates, or someone that likes to go on lives and debate. We will have a space in which we will have 3 or 5 questions only. And each party will get to read and respond the question and then ask a rebuttal question. And then we move on to the next one, right? We want to try to encourage people to come up here. Dunking on people is not my strategy, right?
Mama Kin, real quick, YouTube channel. The YouTube channel link is right in my bio. If you want to go there, you can take it right to it, or you can just search for "Add Facts Still Matter." You'll find it there too. Thank you for asking.
Yeah.
Sorry, bro.
We want real discourse and we want real conversations. And sometimes that means that we're going to have to invite people to come have conversations.
Which I do every day.
But I guarantee you, we will boot the minute they do not follow the rules, and we will make it perfectly clear. There's no 3 strikes. It's 1 strike and you're out. Right? And we will discuss what rule was broken and why it is that they want to come up.
Right.
I suggest also that if they want to do a mea culpa, they can cash at me $50 and direct it to the charity of their choice. Correct. I will provide the receipt that I deposited that $50 to the charity of their choice, and we may let them back up again. Probably not that evening, but I'd be willing to give somebody a second chance. It's not about making money.
Right.
It's not about dunking on people.
Right.
It's about having true commentary about political issues, social issues, issues facing veterans, issues facing people who need help, who are not well, issues facing people in recovery, trying to dispel rumors, myths, and lies that come out of Trump's mouth. Here's an example. The judge did not deny Trump going to see his son graduate from high school. What he said was, I'd be willing to consider it, but we have to see where we are in order for me to do that. I'm not prepared today to say yes. Now, anybody else going through this kind of a trial would have immediately gotten a no, because they're in this early process, right? And you have to be there. And taking an entire day out of the calendar really throws things off. But again, Trump lied and said the judge denied him his ability. He didn't want to go to Barron's high school graduation, so he lied about it.
Of course he did.
Played a victim. Now, MAGA, you keep falling for it. You keep thinking that he's a victim, like there's some kind of a witch hunt. What I don't understand is, if you claim this to be true, do you not read the newspaper or your favorite internet site? Do you not see that people are arrested and go to trial all the time?
Did you say, did they read?
I'm sorry. Yes. Do you read? Right?
I mean, did you say, do they read?
Yes. And as a matter of fact, if you can beat me in a 5-question debate, and we'll have a panel of judges to decide, I will get you a 1 month subscription to the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Financial Times, or the Wall Street Journal for 1 month if you can beat me in a 5 question debate.
And I want to touch on something you said too. And again, obviously, it's great to have stimulating conversations. It's really important for us to kind of expose the bullshit. But we will never sacrifice the decisions that we made early on. When I started doing this, long before Anthony and I became partners on this live platform, I have a line, and that no one, I will never allow anyone to cross it. Now,
Yeah.
some conversations might get deep, but when it comes to things that people will say about women or marginalized communities, that's just a deal breaker for me. That's not conversation. If people want to
Yep.
come up and discuss the indictments, for example, if people want to come up and discuss the crimes, if people want to come up and discuss policy, people want to come up and say, I believe the entire government's corrupt, I'm willing to have that conversation. Those are conversations that I'm continually willing to have. As soon as they pivot to more bullshit, more misinformation, then they're done. I'm not. Every creator can do their own thing, and there's been some creators on this app that I've lost a little bit of respect for
Yeah.
because of the way in which they'll platform people.
Yeah.
We're not here for that, you guys. We're not here for that. Never going to happen. So rest assured that if you continue to hang with us on this platform, and if I ever violate that, I know Anthony will call me out, and I expect all of you to call me out too. But I will do my absolute best to never violate that.
Yep.
And Anthony has the block finger, that is very, 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 very well, and it's lubed. Let me rephrase that. It's nimble, and I will always do that. So I just want to let you guys know that. So again,
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
1,000%. Yeah. And I think more importantly, one of the things that, and we've talked about this, that I fear, and I think should be a concern for all creators, which is a really weird thing to say out loud, but I guess by default, and thanks to you, I've become one. Um, at least from a co-host perspective, uh, we don't want this to be an echo chamber,
No,
right? We obviously, the two of us are literally the same age. Like, I think we graduated the same high school year, right?
yeah, 85.
85.
Yeah, baby.
Keeps it real, baby.
That's right, man.
Which also means that we're in the very early stages of Gen X, right? We are in the second full year of Gen X, so we were fortunate not to be in that other generation.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's gotta suck for people born in '64. They're like, the fuck,
They're like, damn it.
damn it.
That's right. That's right.
1964, we welcome you to Gen X because ultimately you really are at the end of the
It
day.
it depends. Yeah, I'm not as accommodating on that as you. I mean, I'm sort of stubborn. It's like you don't. I'm not sure you have to earn a ticket to the party.
Hey,
You
listen,
can't just, you can't just show up.
if you can sing to any Oingo Boingo song or Men
Wow,
Without Hats
wow.
or
You can dance if you want to.
Bow Wow Wow or Adam and the Ants,
Duran
you're in.
Duran. Yeah.
Yeah, Flock of Seagulls.
Flock of
Um,
seagulls. You should have seen my hair in high school. I'll find a picture.
did you have the
Oh yeah, and I weighed like 145 pounds at like
right?
5'11". I looked like a friggin' broom.
My dad once joked, if it wasn't for shoes, I'd fly away. I got to
Anyway,
I
we digress. We digress.
hold
Thank you
just
for indulging us, ladies and
let me
gentlemen.
finish. So 1986, I go to boot camp. Right, I'm 6 foot tall and weighed 145 pounds.
That was me.
Okay,
My senior year.
get out of boot camp, still 6 foot tall, but now I'm 160 pounds.
Hmm,
Push-ups will build muscle whether you
they sure
wanted
will.
to or not.
They sure will. No doubt about it.
Also builds character when you rub dirt on it.
Let's throw some dirt on. A little spit.
Spit. So yeah, that's kind of where I was today. I really do want to not beat a dead horse, but I am still perplexed by veterans that support Trump, and even more perplexed by women veterans that support Trump. I mean, I think like a woman supporting Trump is hard enough for me to math. Like my abacus won't be able to do the math, right? I'm going to have to get a scientific calculator for that one.
Mm-hmm.
But a woman and a veteran, like what about him? Oh, do we have opposition? Did I just see somebody get in the box?
Murph, I just sent you an invite. Would you come up and talk to us, please? Because I want to understand why you think it's a witch hunt. You spelled witch wrong, by the way. But if you wouldn't mind, please, I just sent you an invite. Please join us. I'm just curious as to why.
Or was he a part of the spell things wrong?
No, I don't think so. I'm just curious, Murph. If you are friendly, then I apologize. But I want to make sure I understand why you think it's a witch hunt, because I have some specific questions for you. As to I want to understand some things. So please, if you don't mind, accept the invite and join us for a brief conversation.
Especially for the Biden crime family, like that to me is hilarious. Yeah, that's by far my favorite comment ever.
Okay. Hey Murph, how are you?
Hey, I was totally just trying to get some MAGA in here, bro.
Oh, dude, cool. Well done.
That's why I did the uppercase and lowercase. I thought it was obvious. I'm sorry.
Beautiful, bro. I wasn't sure. It's hard to tell these days. You know.
Fool me,
go, Anthony.
You know how it goes, brother. You know how it goes.
I dig it.
Dude, that was awesome.
Thanks, man. We love you too, brother. We appreciate you.
Thank you guys.
He got me. He got me.
Have a good night, bud. Have a good night.
Bonus points to Murph. He got me because it was the way the Biden crime family was spelled, right?
Oh, I know. It's so
how funny. You mix up the cap locks, dude. That was okay.
Yep, he got us. So
winner
again. I want to just a little backstory before we kind of get back into our topics a little bit. I every day I go through this exercise of, you know, I have my routine in the morning where I'll do my yoga, and I have certain things that I'll do throughout the day, and I have clients all across. I have clients in Europe and I have clients on the West Coast, and my day is really depending on them. So I have weird hours and strange hours, but I always try to find a time to spend a few minutes inviting people that come to our lives to have conversations. And I literally, on average, I invite 5 people a day. Some of the creators that we know, some of them we don't. It's just a weird phenomenon that we still bang into the people they go to their safe spaces. I shared a live with you recently about what we find when we go to the right. We find these, talk about echo chambers. And that's the thing I get. It surprises me. I shouldn't say it surprises me, but they complain about the echo chambers that we have. This isn't an echo chamber. They complain, yet that's exactly how their lives are run. It becomes this entire sort of soup to nuts panel of 9 people. They'll save a box. I'll jump in. It's 8 against 1. I'll dog walk them routinely, and then they'll kick me. And then they won't come here when we invite them. So that just goes to show you how weak they are. Pitifully weak. Pitifully weak. Pitifully weak. As a reminder, I want to, it's funny that Murph said that, because I think it's a really good question, and I want to ask this question to people. So, and I mentioned this before, but they say, or people say that this is political. I'm going to give you a scenario, and I think I might have done this with you, Anthony. Maybe I did it in my head. So if Anthony and I were running for mayor, okay, and we were the leading candidates for mayor, and Anthony had information of me during our campaign. We've been running attack ads. It's been a brutal campaign. Been going after all kinds of shit, right? Drumming up stuff from the past, whatever it might be. But Anthony finds out that there's evidence that I've been dealing illicits out of my garage. He's got videotape. He's got witness testimony. He's got all kinds of things against me that it's a slam dunk case, right? So when he brings that case to the FBI or to the local authorities, is that political? Sure it is. Absolutely it's political, because I'm his rival in a campaign. Does it mean that I'm not alleged to have committed crimes? No. Doesn't mean that at all. So when the right likes to say things like, this is all political, sure, absolutely it's political. It doesn't change the fact that there are allegations of crime that are to be investigated. That's what this comes down to. It's really simple. I don't know why people don't look at it that way. It's because they've been told, even today in court, when the twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster came out and said this is political, it's a witch hunt, and the judge doesn't know shit, I gotta go back to nap time. Exactly. Look at my hands. nothing to see here. That's what happens because again, there's no critical thinking on behalf of MAGA. They literally don't have an answer to that question, and that's part of the reason that these conversations are so important. Like we've talked about before, it's more about the people. It's more about the people than that are in the chat than necessarily the ones that we're talking to, right? The argument can be made that these cases are all slam dunk. The evidence is there. He's going to get convicted in New York. It's a paper case. It's going to happen. He is going to get convicted. He is going to get convicted when that trial in Florida, not if, when that trial gets to court, because it's a slam dunk. It's obstruction of justice, willful retention of national defense information. You can call it political all you want. And yes, let's all call it political. No doubt about it, because he is a candidate for president. No doubt about it. It doesn't change the fact that there are crimes that have alleged to have been committed. Notice that I said alleged, MAGA. That are alleged to have been committed. Due process. Everybody gets it. I hope he gets a fair trial. Hope he gets the best defense he can get. He's going to be down to picking lawyers out of the back of a magazine, like correspondence lawyers. But that's the reality of the situation. So call it whatever you want. I mean, it comes down to the fact that this is about criminality. We cannot say that we believe in law and order. We can never preach to the world again if we don't hold people that are in power accountable. Talk about truth to power. That's what this should be about. Everybody, I don't care who you are. And this is the problem, MAGA. You don't believe us when we say if anything like any of these charges were ever brought. See, I don't need a conviction to make a judgment on a person. Like I don't need, if Joe Biden were the one that were up against these charges, I wouldn't need the court. The burden of proof is different than the burden of morality, the burden of character. If you look at the person that you're going to vote for and say, these are all these things that this person is alleged to have done, where there's smoke, there's fire. Where there's smoke, there's fire. Period.
Also, let's go back to the Wayback Machine and remember, some of these crimes were committed before he was the president
Exactly.
and after he was the president.
Exactly. It's exactly right. I mean, that's
So
part of the game.
those are not political. Those are criminal.
Correct. Exactly right. I mean, the law is the law. If you don't like it, then don't break it. Allegedly, if you don't want to be charged with obstruction of justice, then don't obstruct justice. If you don't want to be charged with the violations of the Espionage Act, then don't hide NDI information. If you don't want to be accused of stealing and then hiding and then sharing classified information, then don't do it. It's really simple. And then the rule of, again, sharing information with people during an interview for Mark Meadows' book, and then sharing information about submarines. And as I've learned, submarines, you don't talk about submarines. It's like Fight Club, Tony, it doesn't look like you're connecting, bro. Sorry about that. You can request again. That's the sad part of where we've fallen in our society, is that because of the lies that he continues to tell, because of the information that he continues to spread, because of the misinformation that his people will just glom onto because of the amazing sort of hypnotic powers that he has over them, they will not believe it. They refuse, no matter how much information. And people ask me, do you guys get tired? I'm like, yeah, I get friggin' exhausted sometimes having these conversations, but I'm all in. I am all in because I think it's too important. I'm doing this for my kids' future. I am doing this because I believe in democracy as sort of, challenged as it can be. I believe in democracy. I don't want fascism, plain and simple. So get over
1,000%.
Get over yourselves. People on the far left, get over it. Get over your feelings. Get over it.
Yeah.
All right. Why don't we? So I know you wanted to cover off on a couple of other things in there. I can bring up a guest if you want. I think post in the chat. It's up to you, Anthony. Where do you want to go?
Yeah, bring up a guest.
Okay.
That way, it's not the Anthony show.
It's all good, dude. It's a good conversation tonight. Good evening, my friend.
How are you guys?
Well, good, thank you. How are you?
So, when people say it's like a political thing, that doesn't make sense to me, at least not in the way I understand political, charges that are political. Like to me, if a charge is political, there's no actual crime there. And the crime is simply that you've offended the state, right? And there's crimes there. There's actual laws that have been broken and actual things
Alleged.
that have been done. And like Joe Biden didn't make Trump fuck Stormy Daniels while his wife was pregnant, you know?
Nope.
And he didn't need, yeah, I mean, Joe Biden would have preferred that there was no NDA
Sure.
payoff
Well, let's be
with
clear though. I
campaign
mean, having an
funds.
affair is not a crime. That's a that's something between yourself and your partner. Having an affair is not a crime. Hush money is not a crime. It's everything else connected to it. The cover up is the crime.
Right. It was using campaign funds and paying them off and,
Alleged. Mhm.
subverting the election. I mean, part of having an open election is understanding all of the dirt on your candidate so that you can make a choice based on, okay, is this person going to be a national security risk? Is this
Exactly.
a person who's honest with taxpayer money? Is this a person who's going to, pose some risk to my democracy or my country?
Correct.
And so subverting that is election interference to me.
Yeah, I mean, I think the challenge. Well, I shouldn't say the challenge. The complexity of this case in New York is because, you know, the 34 counts of business fraud, basically falsifying business records. Those are all misdemeanors in New York. Where it becomes a felony is if any one of those crimes is then used in committing another crime. So, for example, if he used campaign finance funds allegedly to reimburse Michael Cohen, then it becomes a felony. So that's where the crime comes into play. Once again, just to be clear, having an affair is not a crime.
Right.
Paying hush money, not a crime. Using campaign finances and then working with the National Enquirer, David Pecker, again, David Pecker at the National Enquirer for all these catch and kill stories. And again, as we get more information from this case, it's not just about Stormy Daniels. It's not just about Karen McDougal. It's not just about covering up those stories. There's testimony that's going to be revealed again through depositions and through interviews about David Pecker being literally told by Trump to spread stories about, for example, when there was a story about Ted Cruz's dad being part of the JFK assassination, right? That was something that was planted by the Trump team. Again, allegedly. These will come out during that story. That's what we're talking about here. That's why I keep saying this case is about election interference because of what happened. Again, allegedly.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't think that we have to assume innocence. I mean, we're not on the jury and we're not in the courtroom. We can look at the details and we can say, you know what? This guy has enough dirt flying around him and possible accusations of dirt that he is too compromised to be in charge of our national security,
Agreed.
to be in charge of the army, to be in charge of the nuclear football, to be in charge of our taxpayer money. I
Agreed.
mean,
Yeah.
honestly, it's like they impeached Clinton not because he had an affair in the Oval Office, but because having an affair in the Oval Office made him a national security risk. What if the woman he had had an affair with, and I know Monica Lewinsky was just an intern, but what if she was actually like a Russian agent? And then she
Right.
said,
Well,
because we did this in the Oval Office, I want you to funnel this much money through these means to Russia. And the president then compromised, says, okay. I
well,
mean,
he was impeached because he lied to Congress. That's why he was impeached.
well, they brought up the Republicans at the time considered it a national security risk.
They did,
And
but
that's
again, he was impeached because he lied to Congress, and he did lie. I mean, he
he
literally
did
lied
lie.
in
Yeah,
in
I
his
remember
testimony.
he lied. I was angry with him about
Sure.
all of it, especially when what was it, Paula Jones?
Oh
Like
yeah.
he said that she came up to his hotel room and he was unzipped and his schlong was hanging out, and that was kind of similar to the other story, and so there was like a process there, like that's the way he thinks
Yeah.
that's
Yeah. No,
foreplay, kind
you're
of
right.
like
I
Trump.
mean, there's all kinds of sort of. I mean, yeah. I mean, anything, anytime you're leveraged, anytime you're vulnerable, you can be considered a national security risk. And,
Yeah.
if we think about everything that Trump, again, has been alleged to have done, I like to say that because I truly believe in the system of justice and that you have a right to a fair trial and due process in the whole 9 yards. Still, to your point, there's enough evidence there that we can draw our own conclusions, which is fine.
Yeah.
But you think about all that we know his money bind. We know he's in. We know he's upside down. We know he's highly leveraged. If you could not describe somebody who's not only more vulnerable than he is, but potentially in a position of power to literally hand over the keys to America to a hostile power.
Yeah.
And that's just dangerous, and people don't really aren't willing to see it. That's where that's fascism. That's what we're talking about. That's what we're talking about, the rule of law being ignored. So we're talking about the American norms that we're accustomed to, that Trump is as far from that as anything we've ever seen. That's why we talked about this earlier. That's why you say this has never happened before. Well, we've never had a traitor in the White House before. Well, this has never
No.
happened before. We've never had anybody that's been accused of, obstruction of justice and then stealing national defense information. Everything is unprecedented with this guy because he's the first person to ever do it.
Well, and there's somebody in the chat just now who said, I don't even believe he did it. Like, that's crazy to
Please
me.
request and jump in the box and talk to us, please. Please.
Yeah, that's so crazy to me because the man can't run a charity in New York anymore because he was so dishonest with his charity. And now he probably can't run a business in New York anymore because he was so dishonest with his business. And this is a campaign finance violation. The credit card agencies sent out a warning to their consumers about donating to the Trump campaign because he had a way to have a box checked that said, take this from me monthly. And they had over millions of dollars that were taken from his supporters without their consent.
Oh, yeah.
That from then on, and they're kind of I guess there's a class action lawsuit or something to get that money back to the consumers. But he's dishonest in every way anytime he has access to money. And yet she's saying, oh, he didn't really ever do this. And it's like, where in the world do you come up with he didn't actually do this? Because if he didn't do it, then it's a conspiracy to take him down. And if it's a conspiracy to take him down, there are hundreds of thousands of people involved. And of those hundreds of thousands of people involved, they say you can't have three people know a secret unless two of them are dead. Because we've gone through the hardest time our country has gone through recently. We've had the pandemic, and then we had the shutdown. Lots of people lost their job. Lots of people lost their health. Lots of people lost a family member to this pandemic. Lots of people lost all kinds of stuff. And then Joe Biden took the reins, and the country is still in this very split, very uncomfortable place. Like, we're not as happy as we were during Obama's administration. And the problem is that they're assuming that hundreds of thousands of people are involved in some sort of let's take Trump down scheme that is dishonest. And there's not one person, even after suffering everything we've suffered the past 4 years, that has come forward and said, yes, this was a scheme. Here's the emails. Here's the correspondence. Here's the way we did it. Here's why we're doing it. Here's who paid the accusations. When we found that right away with Tara Reid, like it was Steve Bannon paying her, and Steve Bannon paying that girl who took down Al Franken. Like we found them pretty fast, found their bank account, followed the money trail, exposed what they had done, and yet they're thinking that all of this is being done against Trump, and there's not one person on the news coming forward and saying this is how we did it. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. I mean, again, it speaks to the character behind MAGA, and I want to pause for a brief second. And I was reminded of this because someone had sent me a message about there's the delusion of MAGA that they still believe that Donald Trump is actually about America first. So this is listed in the indictment. This is part of the indictment in the Mar-a-Lago documents case. This came out in textual form in the superseding indictment. This is the audio of Donald Trump discussing classified information. Now, Anthony, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not only is it against the law to obviously share classified information, but even talking about things that are classified if
Yeah.
they've not been declassified is against the law, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
I
I'm
mean,
just going to play
it's
this.
one of those things that people don't, they want to make excuses for Trump, which automatically tells me they don't even know anything about security at all.
Correct. So to set the
Right?
context, for this audio, many people have heard it, some may not have. There were people that had gone to Bedminster, New Jersey, that were writing a book on Mark Meadows. Donald Trump was there, so the people that were in the room were authors of the book. There's a Trump aide in the room, and part of this, again, it's laid out in the indictment. There were going to be interviews connected to creating this book about Mark Meadows. So we'll play the audio.
These are bad, sick people.
That was your coup, against you.
Well, it started right at the
Like when
beginning.
Millie's talking about, oh, you were going to try to do a coup. No, they were trying to do that before you even were sworn in.
That's right.
Trying to overthrow your election.
Well, with Millie, let me see that. I'll show you an example. He said that I wanted to attack Iran. Isn't it amazing? I have a big pile of papers. This thing just came up. Look. This was him. They presented me this. This is off the record, but they presented me this. This was him. This was the Defense Department and him. We looked at him. This was him. This wasn't done by me. This was him. All sorts of stuff. It's pages long. Look. Wait a minute. Let's see here. Look at that.
Yeah.
I just found, isn't that amazing? This totally wins my case, Except it is like highly confidential, secret. This is secret information. But look at this. You attack, and
Hillary would print that out all the time,
she'd send
Private
it.
email.
She'd send it to Anthony Weiner, the pervert. By the way, isn't that incredible?
Yeah.
I was just saying because we were talking about it, and he said he wanted to attack Iran and what. These are the
You
papers.
did. It's
This was done by the military, given to me. I think we can probably, right?
I don't know. We'll have to see. Yeah, we'll have to try to
Declassify
figure out
it. See, as president, I could have declassified
Yeah.
it. Now I can't, but this is
Yeah,
classified.
yeah.
Again, now if we've reached this point in our political discussions that you need MAGA, that you need a court decision to make a determination on someone's character, who would be the president of the United States, who would be the commander in chief of the military, who literally campaigned on lock her up because of her handling of classified information. And then he, by the way, is the one who changed the law. It was his administration that changed the law for violating how classified information was handled from a misdemeanor to a felony, and literally on tape, his own words said, when I was president, I could have declassified this. Now I can't. If that is not enough information to say, I am not voting for that fucking traitor, then I don't know what will. What else can you possibly say? So this is part of the Mar-a-Lago classified documents case where they connected the dots. And you remember a few weeks back, we played the audio of the interview. We should do that again. The interview of one of the drivers that was connected to the Trump team, that was part of transportation, who talked about loading boxes on a plane so that they could go to Bedminster, New Jersey. So this interview was in Bedminster, New Jersey, one of his golf clubs. So what that says is the obstruction of justice happened at Mar-a-Lago. This guy was part of bringing the documents, the boxes, literally putting them on the plane, flown up to on Treason Force One, flown up to Bedminster, New Jersey, and then this is what you get. When I was president, I could have declassified these. Now I can't. Do you really need a jury to rule on whether or not he did that? Is it not enough to say, okay, this guy is sharing classified information? We also know that he shared information with an Australian billionaire talking about our subs, which I don't even know. We don't have submarines, as far as I know. Anthony told me that we don't even have subs. So we'll leave it right there.
Fax, there's another piece in that audio recording that people ignore that I just feel like we probably shouldn't ignore it. In that, at the time when Milley supposedly drew up those documents that he was allegedly and by audio showing to other people, he was the commander in chief and he had a huge vendetta against Iran. He had taken out Soleimani. And Iran, in retaliation, had decided not to retaliate against the United States. They did end up launching bombs and hurting 100 soldiers on a base. But they had said, our argument is not with the United States, it's with Donald Trump. And so they issued, what do you call it, a fatwa? Is it a fatwa?
Fatwa.
Fatwa.
Yeah, against Trump at the time, which
right.
was a pledge to unalive him, and
Educational purposes only, TikTok.
right, and one of the reasons we went to war in Iraq was because the same declaration had been issued by Saddam Hussein against George Bush Sr. And so George Bush Jr., when he had the opportunity, decided to go ahead and attack Iraq. Well, here he is, the ex-commander in chief, saying that his general, Milley, drew up these plans to go to war with Iran all by himself, that he wasn't ordered to draw up those plans. There is no general that's just going to draw up the fucking plans to start a brand new war in a country without the commander in chief saying, we need to look at this. So
Yeah, I
he's
mean,
lying even there.
yeah, well, I mean, there's another example of his misuse of classified information when he shared, satellite imagery of either a military base and or some military infrastructure in Iran. So, and thanks for jumping in, Poe. I appreciate you. I'm going to try to bring somebody else up. Thanks for joining tonight. As always,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Good,
no,
good,
it
good, good to
was,
talk to you.
thank you for having me up and let me vent a little bit. It gets really exhausting dealing
hear
with
ya.
these people.
Hang in there. Talk to you soon.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you. You guys do a great job. I love your show.
Appreciate you
Thanks,
very
Poe.
much. That's part of it, right? That's part of the challenge that we face regularly with this misinformation that MAGA has, that they believe that this guy is the
Yeah.
one that should manage things.
Yeah.
That's the
Well,
ironic. David 59, why don't you please request so we can talk to you, please, David?
does he have enough
The
followers?
the saddest part about this whole thing, and it's sad, really, is that you've allowed yourself to be lied to over and over and over again. How will you ever step out of that lie? How will you ever step out of it? There's nothing that you can say. There's nothing you can say that Anthony and I cannot debunk within
Yep.
seconds,
Yep.
because the information is right there and available to us. How do you defend the audio tape that we just played? How do you defend it?
Well, you cannot. It is indefensible.
Exactly.
However, for performative purposes, one could pretend to ignore everything they heard,
Yeah.
pretend to ignore how things are declassified, specifically which things can and cannot be declassified. By the way, that type of document falls under the cannot be unclassified ever. Like that'll never be declassified. Right. Those things are always and forevermore. Special shout out to my niece Jo. See you there. Love you very much. It's nice to have a family member down in the chat. Everybody follow Jo. She's awesome and makes some of the best cookies I've ever had, and is a gardener and just a super cool woman. And y'all should follow her. And she's also a creator here on the talk.
Nice.
You could ignore all of the factual parts, right, for performative purposes. Yeah. But what you can't do is you can't come 10 toes down, especially if you've never worked in an environment where you had to have security clearances and then come tell us oh well, this is how it works, and he can just wave his hand over it. No, he can't. No, it's a national defense document. No, he can't just think about it.
That's right. I mean, again, sorry.
And the original author of that memo or whatever it was, because I don't know, I don't have a right to know what it is, must be the first point of contact to even consider changing the classification.
Yes.
So again, MAGA, I don't understand why you keep making excuses for him. Why do you want to excuse a guy who's literally sitting in front of a bunch of people with no clearance at all and sharing a incredibly sensitive document that he should not and did not have the right to possess at that time? Why do you keep supporting him? I don't understand. I just don't. I don't get it. I don't get it. Anyway.
So, our friend has requested, Anthony.
We have lots of friends.
We,
I'm sorry. Did not mean to be daft. Are we talking about Jeffrey?
correct.
Okay.
So, so you're in, so Jeff, you were supposed to change your name to, my name is Jeff, I suck at debates. You haven't done that yet. I want to ask the chat. I think that it's reasonable that we can have a conversation, but it's going to go, go ahead, Anthony. You have something to say?
Here's what I would like to propose, if I may, please.
Please, go ahead.
I would like to invite Jeffrey up to simply say, and Jeffrey, this is up to you too, brother. Like, you feel free to say no. And I use the term brother because we served in the military. So if you don't know, stay in your fucking lane. Brother, I would like to have you come up just for a few minutes, because what I would like to do is talk about having a specific evening where we come up and we agreed to certain terms. And if you're willing to come up and just have this discussion with us, I would invite you to come up. We don't want to shift gears tonight because we're kind of
the chat. I'm going to defer to the chat, Anthony, and I just got
Yeah.
some information about some things that he said about a young woman, so I'm going to pass on him. So again, Jeff, the opportunity was there for you.
What did I
to
see?
for you to change your ways. I think that the jury is out, Jeff. That people just don't appreciate your insincerity and how disingenuous you are. I don't think you've learned your lesson. We think you're a smart guy, but you obviously do not have the ability to have an adult conversation. And if you start putting down women, and I take the word of some people who inform me of that, so we're gonna say no. So you'll have to come back another time.
But Jeff, I need you to, I think you have a new account. Can you reach out to me so that we can have an offline conversation? I would appreciate that. Thanks.
Sure. Sorry, but I just again, there's a line that's been
Yeah,
crossed.
that's fine. That's fine.
Yeah. And chat, thank you guys. That's what
Yeah.
we talked about earlier about how we're not gonna do those kinds of things. But although we'll use him as an example, he's the kind of person that refuses to answer questions. That's why he's no good at debating. So in debate, the way that you debate someone is that you address what they said, and then you rebut what they said, as opposed to pivoting around the question that you're asked.
Yeah.
That's not debate.
Yeah.
That's debate, bro.
Right.
That's debate. That's Ben Shapiro bullshit. That's not answering a question. So again, change your way, Jeff. Repent. Change your handle to my name is Jeff. I suck at debates, and then we have a conversation down the line. Or if you want to have a platform, if you want to host a live, I would be happy to join you, and we can have that conversation one-on-one. So feel free.
Yep.
So the challenge is on, Jeff. So there you go. Again, the challenge is on. My name is Jeff. I suck at debates. Feel free. So go ahead.
And one thing before I forget. So I forgot to. I told people I would be tracking the DJT stock price. Today it's down to $22.84.
Ooh, it was 26.70 yesterday.
It opened at 26.82.
Okay.
It is down to 22.84. And according to Bloomberg, the high was on March 27th, 66.22. So for those of you playing at home, that's what we call a precipitous drop.
Would you mind if we pivoted a little bit to the Steele dossier, as we talked about that a little bit
Oh,
earlier
I
today?
love that subject. Yes, let's
Okay.
please do.
So
and
for
and
those,
dossiers in general, right? Because they are things.
right, right. I apologize for the glare in the glasses. Like I think I mentioned to you guys last night, my dog literally ate my glasses. I mean, like literally ate them. So these are a backup pair and they don't have the blue light reflective. So I apologize if you're getting it. I have new glasses on the way. Anyway, it's not about me. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is because overhearing conversations that people still believe that it was, Russia, and the Steele dossier, and it was connected to FISA. That's kind of where it kind of got to pique my interest because FISA. I want to make sure I get the proper definition as to what it actually is. Hold on. The FISA Section 702 allows the U.S. government to collect digital communications of foreigners located outside the country. It's the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act of 1978. It was just renewed after some politicization, right? Yeah. And it's important because it's a tool for gathering intelligence. Where American citizens can become involved, and I learned this today, under FISA, is if some of those American citizens are in contact with foreign people who are being investigated. So not targeting Americans, you're kind of swept up in the whole conversation. That's part of it. So the Steele dossier is this thing that the right likes to hold on to, thinking that the Steele dossier and Hillary Clinton and the spying on the Trump campaign. First of all, they always use FISA as how the deep state spied on him, and as we just discussed, FISA is foreign intelligence. So again, not to be used on, not to be targeting American citizens. So what people don't understand is the origins of FISA. I'm sorry, the origins of the Steele dossier. So I think we should break that down real quickly. So I'm just going to give you a quick sort of summary of what it is and who paid for it and how the whole thing started. What is the dossier? 35-page collection of research memos written by Christopher Steele, a respected former business intelligence agent, primarily during the 2016 presidential campaign. The memos, compiled by a research firm called Fusion GPS, allege a multifaceted conspiracy between the Trump campaign and the Russian government to help Mr. Trump defeat Mrs. Clinton. The memos also detail unsubstantiated accounts of encounters between Mr. Trump and Russian prostitutes, the P tapes as they refer to as, and real estate deals that were intended as bribes, among other claims about Mr. Trump's businesses. Mr. Simpson founded Fusion GPS in 2010. The reason that Fusion GPS comes up is because who paid for it? During the Republican primaries, a research firm called Fusion GPS was hired by the Washington Free Beacon, a conservative, when they say conservative, highly conservative, a conservative website to unearth potentially damaging information about Mr. Trump. The Free Beacon, which was funded by a major donor supporting Mr. Trump's rival for the party's nomination, Senator Marco Rubio of Florida, told Fusion GPS to stop doing research on Mr. Trump in May, as Mr. Trump had then clinched the Republican nomination. After Mr. Trump secured the nomination, Fusion GPS was hired on behalf of Mrs. Clinton's campaign and the DNC by their law firm Perkins Coie to compile research about Mr. Trump, his businesses, and associates, including possible connections with Russia. It was at that point that Fusion GPS hired Mr. Steele, who was deep sourcing in Russia to gather information. Okay, again, setting the record straight. Oppo Research, Fusion GPS, funded by big donors in support of Marco Rubio at the time, to gather information, opposition research, based on what they learned were connections between the Trump campaign and Russia, proven in the Steele dossier, proven in the Mueller report, and verified in the Durham report. It was then offered to the Clinton campaign. They bought it because it's opposition research. That is the entire case. That's what this entire thing was about. All right? So people want to hold on to that, and I find it fascinating, absolutely fascinating, that people will still bring this up without knowing any of what we just read. A conservative website, the Washington Free Beacon. Anybody wants to do a little bit of research, have some fun? You can go to Media Bias Fact Check and look at the Washington Beacon, the Washington Free Beacon, and find out what it tells you. That then leads us to James Comey, because the Comey team, again, James Comey was the FBI director under whom initially, Anthony?
Donald J. Trump.
Prior to that, Barack Obama.
Barack Obama.
Meaning that the investigation into Hillary Clinton was started under the Obama administration. Right?
Yep.
Okay. Just I want to make sure people understand that. James Comey, as in his book, that he knew that by leaking this information 2 weeks, I think, prior to the election, was going to harm Hillary Clinton. He admitted it. During his investigation, this is the letter that he wrote. I quote, "Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there is evidence that they were careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information." James Comey, again, at that time, under the Trump administration, a Republican. In fact, I think every FBI director going back, 20 years, have all been
Or
Republicans.
more.
Or more, right? One of the most conservative departments in our entire federal government, okay? James Comey, the person who opened the investigation, did the investigation, and then determined, I'll read it again, quote, "Although we did not find clear evidence that Secretary Clinton or her colleagues intended to violate laws governing the handling of classified information, there was evidence that they were extremely careless in their handling of very sensitive, highly classified information." Careless is not a crime. The person who brought the charges up said, no charges.
Also, it was an over exaggeration
Absolutely it was.
because they found five pieces of paper that had a particular stamp on it.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And out of the 5 pieces of paper, one was a problem. One piece of paper was mishandled. And specifically, there was not at that time a law in place. So no law was broken in
Correct.
the handling. It just, from a best practices standpoint, was kind of like, it would be a be better comment, right? And that is why the Trump team sprung on that one aspect and changed the law, because they thought that was going to be a gotcha also.
That's exactly right. That they bring up this whole bleach, I think they call it bleach pitting.
Yeah.
It's done automatically. Every single day, server records are wiped. So basically what happens is if it's sent to a government server, which it was at the time, yes, Hillary had a private server. I'll get to that in just a second. But as soon as those emails are opened, after they're opened and read, unless they're saved, they're automatically deleted. They're bleached.
Yep.
Just like that. So this is from Colin Powell. Responding to an email from Clinton asking about his use of a BlackBerry while Secretary of State, Colin Powell, who was the Secretary of State prior to Hillary Clinton, warned her responding to an email from Clinton asking about his use of a BlackBerry while Secretary of State, which again is not necessarily something that they're supposed to do, Colin Powell warned her that should that become, quote, public, her emails would become official records and subject to the law. Be very careful. I got around it all by not saying much and not using systems that captured the data. Colin Powell advised Hillary Clinton how to do this, and she did exactly what he did. So again, no crime committed. Now again, was it careless? It seems like it was careless, sure, but no crimes committed. So everybody wants to hold on to that whole, well, Hillary did the same thing. Not even close.
Not
They're
even
not even in
remotely
the
close.
same ballpark.
No.
One is pizza and one is manure. Not on the same spectrum at all. So again, here's part of this misinformation that the right has to use to try to make the charges against their guy go away, or to make them seem not as serious.
Yeah.
It is disturbing. It's really, really disturbing that we've fallen this far. And the Steele dossier thing, I think, is fascinating because that led to the Mueller report. And the Mueller report absolutely proved Russian collusion.
Right.
without question, and
Right.
people went to jail because of it.
Paul Manafort.
Paul Manafort, Michael Flynn, who was a well-decorated general in the United States Army, got what, I don't know what happened to him. Why didn't he get court-martialed? I guess he got pardoned, right? And then Paul Manafort and Roger Stone was connected to that, and Papadopoulos and a whole bunch of other people were all part of this. Were brought into these conversations. Russian agents connected directly to the KGB in the fucking Oval Office, and Trump asked his aides to leave. Give me a
Yeah.
break.
And this is how, by the way, on the FISA part, right? They backed into Paul Manafort because he couldn't shut his mouth.
Exactly right.
Paul
exactly
Manafort
right.
talked to anybody that would allow him to brag, right? The guy was a braggart. No wonder why he and Trump got along so well, right? Could you imagine that bro fest? And so that's how the Russia collusion was pinpointed, is that
Correct.
while they're gathering evidence on foreign nationals, whether it's overseas or here on US soil. By the way, every government does it to every government, so it's not really a big deal or a shocker, right?
Right.
They uncovered it all because of the sheer stupidity. That's why Paul Manafort went to jail. It's because he's dumb.
That's exactly right. And the Steele dossier is what led
Yes.
to uncovering a
Yes.
lot of this information through FISA. The
Right.
system designed to root this shit out did exactly as it was supposed to do.
Yes. And
Collusion,
what's
by the way, secret or illegal cooperation or conspiracy, especially in order to cheat or deceive others. I don't know how else you would describe it.
Yeah.
When Don Jr. is taking a meeting with Russian operatives
Right.
at Trump Tower saying, hey,
Right.
you know, if there's information out there. And remember, Trump was in the Oval Office doing an interview with George Stephanopoulos and said, well, what if a foreign body reached out to you and had information on one of your candidates? Trump said in the Oval Office, as a sitting president, sure, I'd look at it. Why wouldn't I look at it?
Yeah. And then he went into that whole, it's just Oppo, right? Which is ironic, that statement, because so is the Steele dossier. It was just Oppo.
Exactly.
Right.
But the fact they conflate these things as if it's supposed to be something that is, it's the most ridiculous argument I've ever heard. This one is always one that's bothered me,
Yeah.
just because they don't understand what it is. When you ask somebody what the Steele dossier is, they said it was the Obama administration spying on Trump.
Yes.
That's how pitifully
Yes.
ignorant they've become.
Well,
It's not even close to that. Hired by Marco Rubio and funders of
Right.
his campaign to dig up dirt that they found, by the way, on Donald Trump.
because the guy that owns Fusion GPS is a retired investigative journalist. He was really good at uncovering shit. Like,
Correct.
this is what he did for a living, right?
That's right.
And here's the thing that I find so amazing. You will never hear a sitting Republican politician answer the following question. Can you point to what was inaccurate in the Steele dossier? They won't answer the question. Oh, it's not about whether it was truthful. It's about they spied on his campaign. No, nobody spied on your campaign. No. If you got found out doing stuff because they're spying on people they're allowed to spy on, it's your fault for being stupid, bro.
Right.
You're not a victim.
Right. And they talk about the weaponization. I'll remind people again, the only investigation that was done on either of those candidates by the Department of Justice during the 2016 campaign was Hillary Clinton under the Obama administration. She was the only one that was investigated by the FBI under the Obama administration. So explain to me how it is that Donald Trump was impacted by that. Hillary Clinton lost that election. For a variety of reasons, not just because of the Comey letter, but that was absolutely a contributing factor. And James Comey, in his book, which I've read, basically, I'll find the quote. It's basically, I knew this was going to harm her. I knew it. So there you go. Yeah, that's the breakdown.
Yeah,
We've got a guest request. It's just fascinating to me that people still hold on to that. Hey, Dana, how are you?
Hey, I just want to come up real quick. I read Michael Cohen's first book, and he said that Don Jr., the first day they were in the White House, he actually, when they were setting everything up, he actually asked for a back channel to Russia.
Where did you hear that from?
It's in
Michael
Michael
Cohen's book?
Cohen's first book.
Okay. We can't confirm that. I appreciate you sharing that. Obviously, we can't confirm it. It's in Michael Cohen's book, but it wouldn't surprise me, right? I mean, it wouldn't
And
surprise me.
the FBI told Don Jr. that we can't do. Can y'all hear my dog snoring?
I can. It's hilarious. I can.
Sorry, but
That's all right.
Michael, the FBI told we can't do that, and they said all communication has to go through the main lines, and you have to have someone else listening in, no private calls, because there's protocols.
Correct. And we know about burner phones in the White House during the Trump administration. We know that
Yep.
there's missing audio tape on J6 based on there's Secret Service records, and they had to pull all kinds of things. Which again, we don't know all the evidence that Jack Smith has that will all come out during trial.
I can't wait for it.
Yeah, this is all part of it. Again, this is why we call you MAGA. This is why Donald Trump is a traitor. If you support him, you're a traitor too. It's obvious to us. It's just blatantly obvious. You support a traitor, you support a rapist, you support a felon, and you'll still vote for him.
They will,
nuts.
and there are, like, before MAGA rallies, there are people that are pro Russia. They don't realize the history that we have with Russia. Russia is not our friend. North Korea is not our friend.
Nope.
Hungary is not our friend.
Yep.
So
You're right.
that's all I wanted to say. I'm gonna jump down. So thanks,
Appreciate
guys.
you. Enjoy your dog. See you later.
Okay, he's
Bye.
old. Bye.
He's great. See you later. Again, I don't know how many times we can go through this exercise of trying to explain to people. I think it's important because the way I consume news, I need to do it the way my brain works. I kind of try to tell the story. So you connect the dots from what FISA is and why it's important and why we need it to gather intelligence, and how FISA was used during the Steele as part of the Steele dossier to gather information, again, legal, and then how that information turned into Oppo research within the Clinton campaign, which led to the Mueller report. So all these things are related, and because the way that the right and the Trump machine wants to spew out the information to their base, they break these things down individually and they say they're all part of the witch hunt. I'll remind people again, the only person investigated during the 2016 campaign was Hillary Clinton under the Obama DOJ. Period.
Yeah. Also, the only person to sit.
Yeah. No shit.
Yeah. Where's
11 hours?
Where's Jim? I hold Grapus near and dear to my heart, Jordan.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
When
She
he
sat down, answered questions. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I guess subpoenas don't apply if you're in the GOP.
No, they don't. They don't. I mean, and again, and then back to the charges here. If I can pull this up again, where is it? I put it right here. So the charges connected to the J6 trial again. Again, the indictment. They are count 1, 18 USC Code 371, conspiracy to defraud the United States. I don't need to go any further into the indictment when I read that. So if you start to form this, if you sort of connect the dots with everything, so we've got Donald Trump and the Trump campaign absolutely and obviously accepting and or colluding and or working with the Russian government. We certainly know that Russia interfered with the 2016 election, with the 2020 election, and they'll do it again. We know that, accepting that. Oppo research is not against the law, but when you're getting it from foreign nationals, it violates so many laws. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. Then you can go down to the last count, which is count 4, 18 USC Code, conspiracy against rights. The right of the American people, because the person that was voted into office was accepting foreign intelligence information, said he would do it again publicly, lied over and over and over and over again, led an insurrection, is a traitor, plain and simple. And for people in MAGA, no wonder you don't want to come up and talk to us, because how do you defend it? How do you defend it? BT Dubs, we know that HVAC popped over to to Ethan's live, and I guess they're laughing at him because I wouldn't let him come up. They're
Does
laughing at
does Ethan does Ethan sleep? I swear to God, I wake up in the morning here in Los Angeles, 4:30. You know, I go downstairs and I just scroll a little bit. Right,
Yeah,
bro is on at
yeah.
4:30 a.m. West Coast time.
I think between Jay and Priscilla and Ethan, I think they kind of rotate, so the live is always up. That's kind of what I think because it seems like it's
Okay,
there all the time.
because
Like
I'm like,
I need a break. I have 3 to 4 hours a day that don't even touch TikTok if I can avoid it.
yeah,
But
yeah.
again, that's the picture that we're trying to paint here, and I think it's really important as if we dig a little bit deeper into this. So shortly after, this is on page 2, paragraph 4. Shortly after Election Day, the defendant, Donald Trump, also pursued unlawful means of discounting legitimate votes and subverting the election results. In so doing, the defendant perpetrated 3 criminal conspiracies. 1, a conspiracy to defraud the United States by using dishonesty, fraud, and deceit to impair, obstruct, and defeat the lawful federal government function which by results of the presidential election are collected, counted, and certified by the federal government in violation of 18 U.S. Code 371. 2, a conspiracy to corruptly obstruct and impede the January 6th congressional proceedings at which the collected results of the presidential election recounted and are certified, the certification proceedings it's called, in violation of 18 U.S. Code 1512K, and a conspiracy against the right to vote and to have one's votes counted in violation of 18 U.S. Code 241. 81 million people voted for Joe Biden. That statute right there, a conspiracy against the rights to vote to have one's votes counted, is a violation of 81 million Americans. How much more do you need to know, MAGA? How much more do you need to know? Do you need this guy to be held accountable? Because you've told us, even if he's found guilty, you would still vote for him. You hardcore MAGA, there's no hope for you. You Republicans who believe that Republican policies are what you want, but you don't like Trump, but yet you might vote for him, is this enough? And then those of you that are independent, that you can never see yourself voting for Joe Biden, that's totally fine. You'll never see yourself voting for Donald Trump. Are you willing to do whatever you can do to make sure that that traitor never sees the inside of the Oval Office again? Because he is a direct threat to our country. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. He is an absolute direct threat. He would sell our country out to the highest bidder. There's no doubt in my mind. No doubt in my mind. Again, I am not going to start a conspiracy theory here, but I believe he's already done it. I believe he's already done it. That's my opinion, and my opinion alone, TikTok, educational purposes only. You're right, in an instant, Zoe. It would sell us out in an instant. If people want a good read, you should read American Compromise. It basically it goes back to the 80s when Trump was just trying to get into the game. He wanted to run with the big dogs, and the KGB identified him as an easy target because of his ego and his narcissism. And they played him and they played him and they played him and they played him, and then they hit the mother load when he became the president. He is a threat to our country. He absolutely should not be behind the Resolute desk ever again. He should be nowhere near it. He can hang a picture of the Oval Office on Cell Block D as far as I'm concerned, but that's it. Obstruction of justice, willful retention of national defense information, inciting an insurrection, and we haven't even gotten into the other stuff. Essaying a woman, bragging about sex with his daughter, fantasizing about sex with 10-year-old girls, at Jeffrey Epstein relationship, 26 allegations against him. I mean, what the fuck else do you need to know? Unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean,
pathetic piece of shit.
Yeah, yeah. Maybe one of the stupidest persons to have ever been given a microphone and a stage.
Yeah.
Literally just so unintelligent, right? Yeah. Just absolutely unintelligent.
Exactly.
Hold on, I'm being asked a question here. Hold on.
Okay.
Now that I can look at Discord. By the way, to our friends or fans, I don't know what I'm supposed to call you. Sometimes it's been pointed out that you say something in the chat on my phone. Allow me to say this. I am 57 years old and I wear progressive lenses. I cannot see sometimes what you're saying. I'm not ignoring you. I just my camera is more than an arm's length away on purpose because I want to be able to look at my monitors and pull stuff up. Not ignoring you. I would have to do this to see what the hell it is, and no one needs to be looking in my nose hair. Sorry. That's just,
Um,
you know, that's a
for those
visual
of
no
you
one
interested,
needs.
to Anthony's point, for those of you interested, link to the Discord is in the link tree in my bio. We're still working out some bugs, but more to come. But I want to encourage people to do that. We want to build a lively debate there. So we're going to have all kinds of things. There's going to be a section for memes. There's going to be resources. There's going to be FAQs, all kinds of stuff. So please, if you guys are so inclined, and then again, while you're over there, please subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. We appreciate that.
Yeah.
You were saying
And
something.
I hope we get to have all of the mods in Discord over the next couple days. Because if they do see something, it's Discord is on my smaller 32-inch monitor, so I will be able to see everything quite clearly. Um, so if you do need something brought to our attention, please let one of the mods know, and when they join Discord, they will be able to flash it up there, and then Fax and I will be able to see it without squinting or lifting our glasses or walking around the house asking where my glasses are and yelling that I don't know where I
In my
put
head.
them down and then realize that they were on top of my head the whole time I was yelling,
That's right.
looking for my glasses. Or my mother, rest in peace, Mama. Marilyn was you would have loved my mom. She was a political spitfire.
I bet.
Um, my
Mine
mom
too.
once said, "I can't hear you. Let me put on my glasses," which to this date is still one of the best lines ever.
That's excellent.
Right.
Just going a little bit deeper into this
Let's
specifically
do it.
because this is from the superseding indictment. This was the superseding portion. They added on more witness testimony. They added Carlos de Oliveras to this. So this is the Mar-a-Lago piece. This is on page 9 of 60. So this is paragraph 23. The heading of this particular chapter is Trump's public statements on classified information. As a candidate for president of the United States, Trump made the following public statements, among others, about classified information. On August 18th, 2016, Trump said, quote, "In my administration, I'm going to enforce laws, all laws concerning the protection of classified information. No one will be above the law," end quote. On September 6, 2016, Trump said, quote, "We also need to fight this battle by collecting intelligence and then protecting our classified secrets. We can't have someone in the Oval Office who doesn't understand the meaning of the word confidential or classified," unquote. On September 7, 2016, Trump stated, "One of the first things we must do is to enforce all classification rules and to enforce all laws relating to the handling of classified information," unquote. On September 19, 2016, Trump said, we also need the best protection of classified information," unquote. And then E. On November 3rd, 2016, Trump stated, "Service members here in North Carolina have risked their lives to acquire classified intelligence to protect our country." As President of the United States, on July 26, 2018, Trump issued the following statement about classified information. "As the head of the executive branch and commander in chief, I have a unique constitutional responsibility to protect the nation's classified information, including by controlling access to it. More broadly, the issue of a former executive branch official's security clearance raises larger questions about the practice of former officials maintaining access to our nation's most sensitive secrets long after their time in government has ended. Such access is particularly inappropriate when former officials have transitioned into highly partisan positions and seek to use real or perceived access to sensitive information to validate their political attacks. Any access granted to our nation's secrets should be in furtherance of national, not personal interests." Mic drop. Literally, the words coming out of his own mouth. So, again, these are in the indictments. These are what the facts are that we have. Again, MAGA, we ask you, do you genuinely need a conviction? Some of you have said, Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And yet Joe Biden is the threat, and drag queens are the threat, and immigrants are the threat, and members of the LGBTQIA community are the threat. Poor people are a threat. Women are a threat. Really? Really? I don't know what else to say. This to me is, to your point earlier, we started this whole conversation with patriotism, right? If anybody in our country can support a man after what we've seen him do, the things that we know that he's done, because that is just like scratching the surface based on what the government has against this guy. I don't know how the hell you could call yourself anything other than a traitor. Literally, especially if you took the oath. Unbelievable. It is disgusting. It is disturbing. They, like you said the other night, their entire identity is connected to this guy. Everything. Because now they are so deep. They are so deep that they can't step back. They will do anything to defend them, because the moment they stop, then they'll have to admit that they're wrong, and they can't do it.
I'm gonna say something.
Please. Thank you for letting me vent.
I have known, respected, and loved quite a few people in my life.
Does Jen know?
Yes.
Okay.
Up to and including once meeting an ex-girlfriend.
Nice.
Well, we're besties, so, you know.
Cool. Gotcha.
It was a package deal. I don't think I have ever shown the level of dedication, and I use that term loosely, that these people have for Donald Trump. Meaning, I don't think I've admired or respected or loved anyone with the obsession that they fawn and fall over Trump with, right? At no time in my life would I ever allow that to happen, because that would mean that I stopped treating them as if they were just a human being and put them on some godlike status, right? Because everything with Trump is a lie. Trump was not a successful businessman.
Nope.
Count them: 1, 2, 3 casinos. First of all, who the hell has 3 branded casinos in Atlantic City
That compete with one another.
I mean, yeah, boy, there's a brilliant business plan, right?
How's that money laundering working out for you? Just saying.
Yeah, money laundering, selling Bibles. You know that's going to come up, right?
Sure.
They want to
Sneakers.
believe that the fact that shares were issued of a publicly traded company makes him a billionaire. No, it does
No.
not. On paper doesn't count, right? You're not a billionaire until you can prove you have assets in excess of $1 billion, right? He's never been a millionaire, but he has you guys so fooled. You will do anything for this man, right?
That's true.
And that's sad, because you won't show that same love and compassion for any other American, only Donald Trump, right?
Whether
then
it's
some of
love
you-
or compassion or just any kind
Right.
of respect, right? They
Right.
just won't show, like they'll defer to him on everything.
Yeah.
Literally everything.
Yeah.
Patrick Moore, can you request, because you asked us for billionaires, I'll answer the question for you, but only if you jump in the box and talk to us.
Yeah.
Again, I mean, we as we get closer, as we get more into these trials, because again, now we know that 7 jurors have been chosen in the New York trial. We know that The jury foreman has been chosen as well. We know that those 7 individuals, which means they have to choose 11 more to get to a total of 18. 12 will sit in the jury, 6 will serve as alternates. They've been not sequestered, but they've asked to come back to court on Monday morning at 9:30. Judge Merchan has gone on record today thinking that he thinks that the trial can happen, meaning opening statements could happen as early as Monday. So accountability is coming. He is going to be found guilty in this case. He is going to be found guilty. It's paper. He broke the law. No doubt about it. So again, MAGA. So those of you who have said that you will stop supporting him if he's found guilty, what spin will happen next? Do you think he can't get a fair trial in New York? Do you think he can't? You think he can't find 12 people that can be impartial? We talked about this last night, right? We talked about whether or not we could be impartial. I think I can. They wouldn't let me on it, most likely, only because of my social media history specifically. But I feel like I'm smart. I could be impartial. I could separate my bias from my bias from impartiality. One of the questions at the end, the last question they asked on the jury form was, is there any reason, whether it's bias or something else, that would prevent you from being fair and impartial if you are selected as a juror for this case? I think that's the ultimate question, right? The one before that. The United States Constitution provides that a defendant has no burden to introduce any evidence or to testify in a criminal case. If Mr. Trump chooses not to testify or to introduce any evidence, can you give us your assurance that you will not hold that against him? Again, another fair question. And then, can you assure us that you will follow the judge's instructions on the law, including instructions on the definition of reasonable doubt and the presumption of innocence? So again, I want to make it clear. I go into these things with the presumption of innocence. I believe that. I believe that everybody is presumed innocent under the law in our country. It doesn't mean that what we haven't read by going through the steps in the January 6th indictments and the Mar-a-Lago indictments, the evidence is overwhelming. You can form your own opinion based on what you see as to whether or not you want to give this guy the keys to the nuclear football. Seriously. How? Anyhow. It's crazy. It's so crazy.
Yeah,
It
it's
is,
truly, it's not to be believed.
it's just not. It's
Right.
just not to be believed. I mean, we know our friends on the right want a civil war. There's a movie out now that apparently is just too real. I'm not sure I'll even want to go watch it, but that's what they want. All because this guy's lied to you. Because
Yeah.
he's flat out told you that there's the deep state and Trump is draining out the swamp. He is the fucking swamp.
Right.
Give me a break.
Right.
He is the swamp.
Yeah.
He is
Yeah.
the swamp.
Well,
I know go ahead, Anthony. I'm sorry.
I just, I have to laugh at the whole Civil War thing again. So you have two hands. So you can only do so many things with two hands. But
Right.
but you know what's interesting is a drone doesn't need hands to execute.
Right. I mean, it's just.
And
Mm.
by the time you hear it, if you hear it, it's too late. The payload's already dropped. You're not thinking. You're not thinking. And they keep saying, "Oh, we have all the pew pews and we're so many."
But just the fact that they're talking about that,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
the fact that they're talking about that to try to resolve differences, to literally to secede again and
Yeah.
to confirm their traitor status is pitiful based on a lie, based on their support of this guy. You know,
Yeah.
twice impeached, 4-time indicted, sexually abusing fraudster who's fantasized about having sex with his own daughter, who
Yeah.
essayed a woman in New York who literally the jury ruled unanimously that he deliberately and forcibly penetrated her vagina with his fingers. That guy, this
Yeah.
fat fuck who's sitting in court to answer questions about his affair. Again, nothing wrong with an affair, your moral character aside, but it's not a crime. But covering
Right.
it up and using campaign finance money, using your money, MAGA, to pay his legal bills. He is the destruction of our country. He is a threat to national security. He needs to be behind bars.
Yeah.
And yes, you can say we have Trump derangement syndrome. I don't give a shit. I'll be talking about this crap every single day if necessary to make sure that that fascist never sees the White House again. Never. He belongs behind bars. He belongs in jail. He's a threat. And you guys will not see it, and you will not accept it.
Yeah. And I'm going to gently push back. We don't have Trump derangement syndrome.
Right.
One, because it's not actually a thing. It's not a clinical diagnosis.
Right.
That's
Exactly.
one. And two is that presupposes I care enough about him.
Correct.
I care about democracy. I care about the people that come after me. And I care about all marginalized community members.
Well said. Yes, well said. Hi, JD.
Hello. Few things. One, talking about fascism. I always think, their ancestor fought in World War II is spinning in their grave.
They really are, aren't they? They really are.
I wanted to tell you guys a video I caught on here, and I'm wanting to say it was Attacking's video responding to it, but I may be wrong. A guy saying that since this is supposed to be a federal case, he thought they were supposed to get the jury members from around the country.
What?
Yeah. He literally was going, why are they getting the jury members only from an area where they know they dislike Trump?
All right, I'll read the Sixth Amendment because I think it's necessary, apparently. All right, hold on here. Okay, the Sixth Amendment guarantees the rights of criminal defendants, including the rights to a public trial without unnecessary delay, the right to a lawyer, the right to an impartial jury, and the right to know who your accusers are and the nature of the charges and evidence against you. It has been mostly visibly tested in a series of cases involving terrorism, but much more often figures in cases that involve, for example, jury selection. Where's the actual amendment? Here it is. Okay. In all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy trial and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed. Boom.
Yeah. This guy just seemed to think that since it's federal, we're supposed to get them from around the country.
Wow.
And I can't help but think, how does he think they get there even before they know they're going to be needed? And two, where are they housed? And three, how do we pay for it?
Well, that's just like the same lie that they believe that veterans were kicked out of hotels so that migrants could stay there. That's just, again, another lie that they'll believe. That's part of their fascism about scapegoating and blaming other people for their own inadequacies.
Oh, and the one about they kicked the kids out of school so the homeless could live there for a while when it was just over a weekend. Yeah.
And a snowstorm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
Yep.
One way to combat that kind of stuff is if you go to the local news channels in a situation like that, they're the ones that really tell you the story. I mean, local news reporters don't get enough credit, in my opinion. There's some wackos out there, but they're the ones that really do the feet in the ground. They'll go to the hotel. So we'll go to the hotel. Did you guys kick veterans out? And so no, that we didn't do that. The school was closed. They let people stay here over the weekend because the weather was really bad, and they were gone by the time school opened again on Tuesday.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Oh, Anthony, you like this one. My younger brother retired from the Navy with 20 plus years. His youngest is special needs. She recently decided to start texting me through Facebook Messenger. Are you family? Yes, your dad's my brother. It was yesterday. Probably for a good hour, every few minutes. My dad's your brother. She's 21, but developmentally much younger. The thing is, she graduated with honors from her school. And she was in regular classes. Her issue is some of the retention.
Yeah.
And they thought she was Downs, but it's not. It's different missing genes, not the ones that cause Down. And she's amazing. She's learned how to do food service and all kinds of stuff.
That's wonderful.
So,
I'd like to hear those stories, JD. Thank you for sharing that with us, friend.
Here. She just
Appreciate
told
you.
me good night. She just told me good night.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much
Give
for.
her a Bravo Zulu for me, would you?
Sure
There you
will.
go. Good
Okay.
call. Thank you, JD. Appreciate you. Well, sir, I think it's maybe
Yeah.
time.
I was just you
ahead.
beat me to it. I was like, hey, I think we've landed at that time a little early, but
Yep.
all good.
Couple things as reminders. I've got like a half dozen or so. I saw the notification come up on YouTube subscribers. So
YouTube.
thank you guys very very much. Really really appreciate that. I think it's really is who knows the future of TikTok, but if you're interested within my link tree, there's a link to letters to your senators that would inform them that you do not want TikTok to go away. I also want to give a shout out to Rolo, who joined us last night. He's got a letter in his link tree in his bio addressing HR 1511, which is a bill to change some registry rules regarding people who are undocumented in our country so that they can become part of our system faster and so their rights can be protected. And it automatically generates a letter to your representative and to your state senators. That's in Rolo's bio. I need to connect with him so we can add that to our bio as well. And then there's merch. If you're interested in Facts After Dark merch, there's merch available. So, Anthony, what did you learn this evening, sir? How would you like to finish out tonight?
One error I need to address, and the person who pinged me last night, I'm so sorry that I just blanked out on your name. If you're still in here, yell at me. Um, there is a situation going on in Texas in which the governor is considering to pardon someone. I will get that prepped up so we can go over it tomorrow.
Okay.
But the mother of the victim, um, uh, for which this person would be pardoned, right? So the victim is still being victimized because the governor of Texas is considering to give this guy a pardon. I want to spend a couple minutes on that
Sure.
because again, it just helps to highlight the constant inhumane behavior that we constantly see from governors like Greg Abbott. And so I want to point that out. Things I learned tonight. I really like having conversations with you.
Yeah, we're chatty.
It's it's good. My wife was not amused by me wanting to have OnlyFans in which I fold laundry. So sometimes I have to
Hey, it's
put a
capitalism,
filter.
Jen. It's capitalism.
I
I don't know what
have
to
to
tell you.
I have to put a filter on my mouth. Because when she says that she's not amused by something, that's kind of I know that I've crossed a line. So
Come back
I
on
learned
Thursday for
that
pillowcases.
yes, that my mouth still gets me in trouble. And that's what I
Sure.
learned tonight.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the advantage of being single.
Yeah, but your dog ate your glasses.
That is true. No doubt about that. Yes. Yes. My dog when he behaves, my daughter's dog when he doesn't. That's how it works. That's how it works. Yeah. So he's on my shit list at the moment. Little bastard.
He's still a
Well,
puppy.
he is. He is.
Yeah.
Well, I agree, sir. I mean, I think obviously, these things are really, really important, and it's unfortunate we didn't have a lot of folks in here tonight for you to be able to talk to them about the veterans component, and how important it is, and what veterans are, and who they are, and how those that still support Trump are so lost. Like those three communities that we continue to identify: women, veterans, and members of the BIPOC community, Black people in particular, that still vote for Donald Trump. It's just a mystery that I don't know will ever be unpacked. I think I said this last night. I think I understand that a little bit more for Black Americans because as it's been described to me, um, you know, working so hard to attain generational wealth and then not wanting to lose it and feeling like people like Trump are their path to kind of keep that proximity to power, whatever you want to call it. Not that it makes sense to me, but I think I understand that a little bit more than the other two. Um, women in particular. My goodness, I mean, how do you choose? Flip a coin. Women or veterans? Which one are more um, their loyalty to that for literally somebody who wants to take away their freedoms, or somebody who's torn up the Constitution for those that took the same oath? So that's what we continue to talk about. But anyway, tomorrow night we're going to do Wildlife Wednesday. You guys are going to have to tune in to find out what that's all about. Thanks to Greg for that. He knows what I'm talking about. Anthony does too. Hopefully we'll be back on our main account tomorrow night. I'll do a promo video tomorrow afternoon to remind people. Thank you everybody for joining. Thank you, mods. Please join our Discord. We really appreciate that. Like I said, be patient. We're working it through. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. Thank you, my brother. Talk to you tomorrow. Everybody have
Awesome.
a great night. You guys are
Peace
welcome.
out, everyone.